The media only shows what they are paid to show.
It's a myth, but not everywhere.
Journalists are becoming influencers.
Yeah.
If it's not viral, it's not newsworthy. Good journalism can't survive without controversy. Being neutral in journalism is a myth.
People don't want to go on social media to hear someone talking about making a cup of coffee.
They told me to go to the British Museum. What I'm gonna see inside? There's an artifacts. You looted that artifact there. I'm like, why can't I say that? You looted us.
What's the perspective of OnlyFans?
It's pretty.
Why is North Korea supporting Russia?
Because they support each other in ideologies.
Makes sense.
Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un. Kim Jong-un's driving this car, and the both of them, it's like a sitcom.
The Western media is so smart, they hide it so nicely.
In warfare, if you have hostages that are dead, you give them back. So there was a hostage that was released, and they gave the wrong body, and it was in pieces. At what point do we say you're pro-humanity? I personally, and a lot of my friends, if someone tells you something, oh, don't do this. One, it's either going to make you want to do it more just because you're being rebellious.
Yeah.
Or two, you're not going to understand the repercussions of it until you actually make that mistake and you have to deal with the consequences. And then you're like, oh shit. Like,
But
I was told not to do this, I did it, and now I'm dealing with the consequences of my mistakes and I'm not going to do it again.
But this part, guys, where I get the people are complex. Why do you have to commit that mistake to know that? It's very complex for me. I've been bashed for it pretty
On the podcast
as well last time as well. But it doesn't. I feel if common sense is not coming to you naturally, then you're not the natural. Don't blame me for it.
Valid.
Yeah?
Yeah, makes sense.
So I'm like, you're telling me you're gonna commit the mistake, you're gonna go through your liver failure or kidney failure, then you're gonna tell me that I did the bad thing?
Yeah, that's fair. I think some of it's ignorance, some of it's probably rebellious, like a rebellious nature.
And I get the rebellious nature. It's totally okay to be rebellious. I've been in rebellious too. But when it comes to health, when it comes to some damaging things which not gonna be fixed in future, then I'm pretty worried about it. Like the financial decision. They say you're gonna ruin your family's money, you're gonna put them under a lot of mortgage, but you gotta learn from your mistake. I'm like, F you. I'm not letting you come near that money ever.
Makes sense. Yeah, it's understanding who you're impacting with your actions, and that's part of growing up, right?
Yeah. Have you seen The Adolescence?
Yes.
On Netflix.
Yeah. I watched it. We binge watched it. I think it was good.
Yeah.
I think the fact that it was filmed as one shot limited it at points. The third episode where it's just the kid and the psychologist in the room, it almost felt jarring for me. Sort of 3/4 of the way through, because
I got goosebumps.
Yeah. It was really powerful, and they want you to feel uncomfortable, right? The director wants you to be in that moment and understand the uncomfort from the kid, but also the woman that's there.
No, but I've been seeing it's popping up.
Yeah, it's everywhere. It's everywhere.
It is good.
So
we even covered it at work. Like we did a couple of bits on it on our news channel, just because it was spoken about in the House of Commons by Keir Starmer, our Prime Minister, and it's gone global and stuff like that, raising conversations about issues like sort of masculinity and social media is huge, and I think something that sparks a discussion like that is really important, because ultimately kids growing up are malleable and their brains are malleable, and if you're consuming content which is one way driven and then the algorithm's continuing to feed that, where are the checks happening? Where's the conversations going from there?
And it opens the different part of Indian society that it exists over here as well, but you can't talk about it. So there's the big director Anurag Kashyap. He mentioned that if it's an Indian made adolescence, it's not gonna make cut till the next 10 minutes. The first 10 minutes, the show will be off the charts and it's gonna get killed.
Really?
Yeah. But the sad part is it exists in Indian society as well, but you can't tell it exists. You can't show the mirror, but it is there. So look at the show they have made. You are thinking that they have addressed the most important part of society, and they have done it beautifully in a darker way, I'm sure. But why is it you thinking that is it only referring till UK? It exists in India as well.
Yeah, every culture.
Yes.
Social media is worldwide now, and the ramifications of it, and someone like Andrew Tate,
Yeah.
who is idolized by some kids, and
It's a sad part.
put up as a sort of poster boy of masculinity, which I think
He's a misogynist.
is
And
misogyny completely.
Complete misogyny, and then he goes on to explaining himself as I'm a very kind guy off camera.
No, but
I'm
but
like, don't talk about it
But
now.
I'm not trying to defend him, but what I want to say is that's his whole game. He says things like these to get the attention. I think even if he, like, I don't know if he actually means it or not, but he's playing the other game to get famous on social media. I think he's playing that
But-
game, and he will say anything to like get
We-
the views.
But that's what we are talking about. Where is the check when it's gonna get checked and get delivered to the kids? We need to stop that these things are not, shown to kids the way they are.
I think UK was the first country to ban him or something like that.
Yeah, there was definitely censorship on it, but when you've got channels which are posting clips, which is now clip farming is such a huge part of algorithms in social media. How can you stop somebody downloading a video which is accessible
Yeah.
through a VPN
Yeah.
And-
from downloading it and clipping it up? And then they're making money off it as well, and it's all like its own ecosystem because it raises the popularity of the person.
Yeah, and banning
People are
makes it
profiting.
more, viral.
Well, hate is more receptive on social media because stronger opinions. People don't want to go on social media to hear someone talking about making a cup of coffee. People want to go on social media to get that sort of aggression, that clickbait stuff, which is going to make you go, wow, because there's so much content.
Yeah.
The things that stand out are the hate.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate, but that's the way our brains are sort of wired, aren't they? If you see an accident on the street, you're more interested in that than somebody who's doing a good deed because it doesn't interest you. There are people
Yeah.
doing good deeds every day.
So how are news channels are trying to figure out this game? Because I'm pretty sure like Indian news channels, they are like slowly going downhill because there's so much content coming up, right?
Yeah.
So how are like these news channels playing the game now?
Well, news now on a global scale has to be multimedia. So before you would have had your newspapers, you would have had your TV
Yeah.
sort of channels, and you would have had your radio channels, and there might have been some that did all three, but then you had specialists. But nowadays, everything is through clicks, everything is through engagement, and that engagement is driven through social media.
Yeah.
So I can talk a lot about the UK. I've obviously only been here for 6 months, but you have newspapers which were around for 30, 40 years and had a key audience that might have been 200,000 people buying the paper.
Yeah.
They were paying for that service. Now everything's accessible for free online. So it's then you're trying to captivate people's interest, and those interests are getting shorter through TikTok, through Reels, through YouTube Shorts. Everyone's attention span is shorter. So the whole thing now is how can you be the most engaging within that first 3 or 4 seconds to capture somebody, whether it's a really snappy headline that might be slightly clickbaity, or you're putting in a location or a name. But even to the scale where we are at NewsX World, we're looking at global news, so there's nothing that we don't cover.
Alright.
But there's such a drive through social media. Even our bulletins, the stuff we're putting out on TV, we're thinking, how can we chunk this up and turn this into clips for YouTube Shorts, for Reels? So everything is driven by that social media aspect of
So
it.
your major platform would be YouTube for every media house?
I think TV is still the priority,
Alright.
but we're growing. So we're a new channel that has just launched. So for us, it's about growing everything together. The old traditional TV channels, if you look at the BBC, they were behind with it. They were really behind. So they were thinking of TV content first and almost ignoring the social media stuff. And a lot of the people working on British broadcasting were old people that had been doing it for 20, 30, 40 years, and they didn't have these skills. And then you're in a position where you need to make that jump to digital and multimedia, but all your workforce don't have the ability to do it. So then that's when there's a sort of a big drive for young people to come through into journalism, because they have those skills. They've grown up with social media in a way that it's instinct. You don't even have to think about it. But for people who haven't grown up with that, for them it's an alien concept. Editing something on your phone quickly, sending a voice note or a reel and converting that through something like CapCut in a way that's accessible for younger people. This is a gap that a lot of old school journalists have.
And especially in a country like India, where English is not our first language, it makes even more difficult for the people to like do all of this stuff.
Absolutely.
And to answer your question, YouTube, yes, is like the major media. And what's a good thing is the watch time on YouTube TV is increasing. So YouTube mobile phone was like already a big chunk of it. But now recently YouTube on TV watch time is increasing and it's taking time of the normal media TV channel. So which is like a game changing thing.
That's correct. That corrects it that the older generation is moving towards YouTube now because TV, they are only consuming the TV.
Yeah,
So
they're consuming YouTube on the
a
TV now.
So it's off the charts now. And where I feel India is lacking in the news part is we usually don't have the global domination over the media. We are not treated as a serious news coverage people like the UK is, like US is. US is doing great in those aspects because they drive the narrative.
Yeah, even somewhere like Al Jazeera.
Yeah.
Which is obviously not based in the UK or in America, but the work they're doing on world news. And I think our company is really looking to do that. And that's why this project was so exciting for me, because it was sold to me as this is going to be Indian-based world news coverage with bureaus all over the world. And it's going to be putting India on the map as a place which can provide that service. And there are so many talented people here, so many talented people that I work with, who I've met, and that's actually the first thing that I thought about when I moved here, was in Western nations we don't know anything about real Indian culture.
Yeah.
We don't know about these amazing people that are doing amazing things because there's no one covering it
Yeah.
for a world audience. And through the advent of YouTube, you can, of course, then do that. But in terms of traditional media, that doesn't exist. And I think putting a spotlight on India and a growing, not just economy, but a growing mindset, I feel like I'm in a place which is moving up at a much faster rate than I've ever experienced, and that's coming from the UK, which is seen as a top economy.
Yeah.
GDP per capita is high compared to
It used to be.
It used to be, but still, if you base it on the amount of people we've got, and the amount of GDP per capita, it puts us up high. But India is moving upwards, and I think media comes with that, right? And that will grow, and hopefully we can be.
How did you even made this decision to move to India at the first place?
I took a leap of faith, to be honest. So for me, it's just saying yes to everything. And I wouldn't have been here, so I separated from my long-term partner, and this opportunity came up at exactly the right time. But it was something that, for me, it was like, if I'm not going to do it now, I'm never going to do it. And since I've moved here, my life has completely changed in a way that I couldn't imagine, for the better in so many ways.
So it's a
what are so many ways? Explain.
First thing is the post breakup depression is off the chart because it got busy.
Yeah, well, I mean, that in itself was a long time coming, and I think that's probably played a part in it, like actually realizing that you're in something where you're unhappy, but convincing yourself that you have to do it because it's the right thing to do. Like, I bought a house, I had dogs, I had a new car.
Which car?
It was an electric MG.
Okay.
And it was great until I drove into the back of something.
And I'm pretty sure brown girls love white guys, so you will be fine here.
Yeah. I mean, I've got a colleague who moved over here about a month after me, and he's got blonde hair, and he's slightly whiter than me. And honestly, the first time we went into a bar, and just everyone looked at him, and I was like,
I
I need to dye my hair.
I thought about saying this to you like so many times, and I was like, I don't know if I say this to you or not. So like you said, your friend has a blonde hair. So there are some white people who looks like white.
Yeah.
Do you get it? So they get a lot of attention.
Like Donald
here.
Trump.
100%. Yeah.
So with you have like black hair and something, but that's good. I think you don't want the attention here. Trust me.
You know what? It's great. When I first arrived here, work were putting me in a hotel in Janakpuri.
Yeah.
And I was trying to get a phone sorted because I had no internet on my phone.
Yeah.
And I took an Uber and got lost, and my phone then died, and I had no internet. So I was walking around, and I had far too much money on me because I didn't understand like the value of what money was worth. I had maybe, I don't know, 100k, I think, in cash, just walking around.
In cash?
In
Why-
cash.
why
'cause
did
I
you
was
bring-
And wait, 100k pounds are you saying?
No, 100k rupees.
Oh, okay.
So,
Alright,
so
alright.
like
Okay, that's
a
fine.
grand's worth of cash, because I basically bought a load of GBP with me, and I
Yeah.
just cashed it out, and I was carrying it around with me. I didn't understand what I was doing and the idea, but I was so thankful then that I didn't have blonde hair and really bare skin. Just walking around Janak Puri, just like absolutely shitting myself, because I'm like, do they want to rob me? Do they want to rob me? Now
Take
it's
it,
just
take it.
life, you know.
I mean,
But-
Janakpuri is not even that bad.
no, it wasn't. It was such a sort of shock. I was like, oh, what have I done? But yeah, managed to get my way back. And
I can take you to places where you have 100k, they're gonna loot 150k out of you.
sign you up for a loan or something.
50k for the liver or the kidney.
More. So yeah, coming back to the point, like on a global domination pace, India has done some beautiful works on, the soft powers of yoga and Bollywood,
Mhm.
I would say.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
Well, I mean, again,
Cricket,
Bollywood
cricket.
is something.
Come on, cricket.
Like,
Well,
yeah.
They gave it
Yeah,
to
yeah.
us, and we have been playing
Why did you
ever
think I
since.
come in England? So just because you battered us in the white ball series, I had to come and represent. But no, Bollywood's, again, like we're talking about, Bollywood outside of India isn't something that the Western world is really understanding of. I think, for me, I didn't realise how big Bollywood was until I got here.
All right.
But definitely, yeah, cricket and sport. And I think the history, so I interviewed an author called William Dalrymple, one of the first interviews I did with NewsX, and speaking to him and understanding the history and researching for that. Again, it's not represented in Western sort of society and culture, but the impact that India has had, even like it's a topic which I don't like to talk about because it's sort of a dark mark on our history, but the colonization and the impact that India had on the British Empire at that point, and also in the World Wars, for example, that isn't understood. I don't think in the UK we don't really learn it, and being here, and it's something that if there is anybody Western who's watching this,
I'm so glad you're talking about this, because when I talk to students who are studying in the UK who did their schooling from there, they have no idea, they have no track of the history, because obviously they have told them only the good things about the UK, right? So they have no clue about it. And the other thing I saw firsthand over there was, of course, most of the media houses are biased in some way, but like for India, they show only the poverty, only the poor side. So I used to work at this one place, and we used to have lunch over there, and there was this TV, and there was always news playing on it. And every time India used to come up there, they would show like poor visuals, slums of India, always, like always. And I'm like so sad.
That's
like
what
this-
I'm coming to at. Like, we are always, where India fails as a global player in the news coverages, they haven't been able to express what India actually is. Like few of the guys, girls like Palki Sharma, about the First Post channel. It's a media coverage house. They are doing a pretty good damn job about it. We are still considered as a snake charmers and the elephants walking on the road.
Completely.
Like, India has failed on a global level right now, because you know what they say in India. Palki Sharma, I've heard her saying that budget hai Jaljeera and khwab hai Al Jazeera.
What does that mean? I also
That-
don't understand.
Budget Jalzeera and khwab Al Jazeera. Like, our budget is like 20k, and we're gonna achieve Al Jazeera level of coverage. We can't do that right now. But what we can do from social media is we have a global audience to us, and we can cover India the way we want, like the US does.
yeah,
Like the US does.
completely.
I mean, when US bombards Iraq, it's a war on terrorism.
yeah,
All right. But when Russia bombards Ukraine, then it's something totally different. It's a war on itself. But wasn't Russia right that you can't join the NATO? I'm not saying Russia was right or not, but it wasn't covered as like the way US covered its own attack on Iraq.
Of course, it's all perspective, right? And the thing is that the powerful part of media, and the thing that everyone working in journalism needs to acknowledge, is the narrative comes through the media. In the UK, when we left the European Union, Brexit, I don't know if you guys
Yeah, of
were
course.
aware of the sort of journey that we went through during that, but the newspapers and a lot of sort of right-leaning news media outlets focusing on immigration. It was immigration. Immigrants are coming over here.
Yeah.
This is why we're running out of money. If we leave the European Union, we'll stop all the immigration. We'll give more money to the NHS. Obvious things that people want will improve the public sectors, and the big issue that we've created will be resolved. The biggest issue now in the UK is still migration post-Brexit. That narrative, that false narrative that was given, was interpreted by the average person and believed because the education wasn't there. So when there isn't that level of education, the media are the people that control that narrative. And like you're saying, with US sort of wars, we'll call them wars because they are, wars on these groups that might have an ulterior motive, their media is creating that narrative, which then becomes the world narrative because that's the leading media agency. So at that point, you're completely right. And I think someone like Al Jazeera, with the current conflict going on Israel-Gaza, again, it's the perspective. When we're working on that as a world news agency, we have to take what Al Jazeera are saying with a pinch of salt, but then it also counters the US narrative who are supporting Israel, and you're sort of building that basis of this is what both sides are saying, now let's try and find the truth. But it is so important, and media is so powerful. And coming back to India, I think that narrative will definitely change.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it is sort of stigma and, what's the word I'm trying to think of? Almost stereotypes, right? Yeah. It's the stereotype of India. And I had that before I came here, and I hold my hands up and say it. Like, I was worried about what vaccinations I was going to have. There were wild dogs. When I came here, I said to my editor-in-chief, I need to get a rabies jab. And he laughed in my face. He was like, have you been bitten by a dog? And I was like, no, but there are dogs everywhere. And the sort of stereotype that we have is wild dogs that have rabies and want to bite you. And as soon as you come, you realise it's just not true. But changing that will take time. And I think that will be a generational thing. But it will come. I think it will come.
It's going to take time, but we're going to work towards it.
So you mentioned obviously the media makes the narrative and the world follows that. That's true. But I think all around the world, there are some sort of powerful figures, and they try to control that narrative, and they can be politicians or big business people, right? I don't know about your company, how big is your company, but have you guys like got any threat or anything to like put that news on or to change the narrative?
For me, I cover world news, right? So we are owned by a politician. He bought the ITV network umbrella company.
Right.
I think it's over 10 years ago. I should know that. But he does obviously run it, and there are a lot of powerful people behind these companies. But from my perspective, I cover world news. So that influence of politics isn't as much there. If Modi is doing something big, we will cover it.
Okay. So I was asking this question because in India, there is a narrative now. Most of the Indian news channels are owned by Modi government. I don't even know if I should say this or not, but that's how people...
If you go missing, we know why.
It's not China, bro.
So...
We're still doing better than that.
Yeah. That's China, we're not the
Jack,
travel list now.
We're not Jack Ma.
So that's why I'm asking this. Is it like that in other countries as well, or what do you think?
For sure. It's I don't think it's as much of an issue. In the UK, the BBC aims to be impartial where possible.
Is BBC even respected anymore? I have to ask this because on the internet, everyone is just like swearing them, abusing them. I don't know.
So I think the issue in the UK is there's now no trust with the media. Because of stuff like Brexit that's happened, there have been loads of scandals, lots more of them being newspapers. Because newspapers are far less regulated than TV. TV and radio is regulated by someone called Ofcom, and their rules are a lot stronger. The newspapers are regulated by Ipso and Ipsos, and they're funded by the newspapers. So ultimately, they can still be biased. They can still be leaning towards a certain political party, and you see that. TV media can't be as biased, but there's still like a channel like GB News, which is a very right-wing channel. Someone like Nigel Farage, who is a leading right-wing politician now, he's been trying for years to be a member of Parliament, has finally done it. I think that's more of a sentiment on the world moving towards right-wing because of cost of living issues, because of immigration, these big sort of topics and buzzwords that are used across the world now.
You think world is moving towards right wing?
Completely. Look at Donald Trump. Look at Europe. Europe's moving right. Elections, France, so the leader of the right wing has just been charged and sentenced for misuse of funds, but she was likely to win the 2027 presidential election. The UK is moving right wing. Austria, obviously, formerly part of Nazi Germany, they've had their first right wing government winning an election. They haven't gone to power because they have coalitions, but that's the first right wing government sort of party to win an election since the Nazi Party. That shows you how far Europe went away from that because the atrocities of what happened. But these issues are moving forward, and it's moving back to the right. In South America, it's the same. I'd argue in India, probably Modi would be more right-leaning. Yeah. I don't think he's fully right-wing, but you're seeing that transition towards the right, and I think that's just discontent.
What do you think? Why is this happening? Because I think, is it just because of the culture? Because even in European countries, if you see like Poland, Romania, all these Eastern European countries, what I am seeing on the internet is everyone wants to save their culture. That's why they are against Islam or some other culture, and they are saying to like push them back. Is it because of the culture you think everyone is trying to be right wing?
I think it's money.
I
think it's money. If an economy's thriving, no one's going to be complaining because people have money in their pocket. They're living a good life. I think what people are forgetting is we're coming out of one of the most economically unstabilizing periods in modern history with COVID. People weren't working, businesses weren't operating, we were in lockdowns. Then you have sort of all of these funds that were given. I know specifically in the UK we had people's wages were paid by the government. Yeah. But a really unstabilizing time for economies across the world. People weren't buying things. People weren't going out to restaurants. Businesses were folding. And we're rebuilding after that. And ultimately, questions are now being raised because services aren't right. In the UK, we have a lot of people saying we're sending loads of money to Ukraine. We're supporting Ukraine. We can't get a hospital appointment. People are dying because the money isn't there to support these people. Immigrants, this is not my opinion. This is a narrative that is pushed by people who are anti-immigration. They'll say immigrants are being housed in hotels, they're being fed, I'm working, I can't feed my kids. That's the level of poverty we're looking at across the working class, which is now feeding into the middle class. Immigration then becomes an issue. If these people are prosperous, immigration isn't an issue.
They are the hardest working ones.
Precisely. And if you look at, we spoke about the Nazi Party with Austria. The reason the Nazi Party thrived in Germany and then onwards, they were coming off of World War I, where Germany was crippled because they were blamed for the First World War. And that vengeance, that the inflation was ridiculous. People were having to eat animals that were on the street. The level of poverty, the level of sort of struggle that they went through, it was the perfect sort of mixing pot of emotions for someone like Adolf Hitler to come through. And I think what we're looking at now across the world is people struggling. We live in a world which is amazing, right? You have the access of social media and everybody can connect on their phones. But ultimately, if people are struggling, who are they going to look at? They're going to look at the politicians. Then who are they going to blame? They're going to blame where that money is going. And I think that's just feeding into this whole push towards the right. India's different. That's why I was saying it feels like I'm at the advent of something which is on the up, because it is growing and people's lives are getting better. And you can feel that, especially compared to back home.
That's true. And even the numbers say that. So we are almost growing as US is growing, and US is like, at the top. So because I invest in different markets, so I have to keep that track. So that's why I know like numbers are also not lying with this thing that how we are growing.
Yeah. It is. The numbers are there. Like things are improving here, right? The levels of poverty are improving. There is, I think, still a big issue with certain things, and that's something as well that.
What are those issues?
So I think like the pollution, for example, is something I've never experienced, and what could be done to improve that? Like, I don't know. Do you guys know what could be done?
That is one of my top reason to move out from Delhi. Because 400 AQI is way too much.
And for an extended period as well. We're not talking 1 or 2 days. It's months, right?
And especially when you come from Cambridge.
Yes, green trees.
Yeah, exactly.
It is a difference. But like, I think those things will be tackled, right, as the economy grows and as things improve. There is, of course, poverty. And I think one thing that's really noticeable in India is that disparity in wealth.
Yeah.
But that's everywhere. That's not I'm not sitting here saying that that's not a problem elsewhere.
That's growing in US too.
It's growing in the UK as well. Like the difference between the wealthy who are buying properties and making money off the people who are struggling to pay their rent, who are still working, is growing. But I think here that change is happening in the right direction. In India, that's how it feels. It feels like things are improving for people, whereas in the UK, it's getting worse.
I don't think it's the same around there, because in these Western countries, the standard of living is so high. Even if you are struggling or making like ends meet, even then you will live like a decent life in terms of air you breathe, food you eat. Do you get it?
Yeah, I do get that. I think
just not the healthcare.
Not the healthcare precisely, but we have a benefit system in the UK, which means that people, if they're wanting to work, if they have children, they have that support. And that's a base level that people can get. So, and then we have like a minimum wage, which is a huge thing. Like the one big thing that always stands out to me in India is the number of staff. And I've spoken to people about it, and they've said, because there are so many people wanting work, the wage can be lower, because if somebody says, I want to get paid this, you say, all right then.
There's an oversupply of it.
Yeah. And is that a people thing, do you guys think? Because there are so many people here, it's so densely populated.
And it's related to the education part too. The labor is not skilled to the level which can get them the most,
even a basic decent job.
Yeah. So they can't, afford to be educated so much that they can work on something like skillful. You're trying to.
I will try to give you a more practical example. So we hired a few people for my place, like other business, and there was this one guy. I wanted to like promote him, but he's just not good with basic maths. Do you get it? So I have to give him like some physical labor kind of work so he can just be employed and still work. Do you get it?
I do understand, but what's the gap there? Why is that education not happening? Is it because of the cost? Is it because there are too many people for the number of schools? Is that
so basically what I know, the government school in India are horrible.
Okay.
I don't know, they are improving with time, but still even the private schools are not that good, so you can imagine what will be the level of government schools.
If you want me to deep dive into it, I would say the people who aren't getting educated are the ones who are being pressurized to be educated. Hear me out. If you're gonna talk to a person who's living in a slum, his parents are really motivated to get his son or daughter get out of that slum just being educated.
Okay.
But the kid is under such a society where the education is not celebrated, maybe per se his friends, and he has figured out a plan where he thinks enjoyment is more in leaving the school rather than being educated. I'm talking about the 90% of the generation living over there.
Okay. Is that because of peer pressure, and it's almost like a community thing? If your mates are saying, I don't care about school, we'll go and do this, and making money early on.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. Because we have a similar thing at home with, so in London, kids getting into drug gangs, it's not a big scale, but there is, and it's all very much ignoring education, quick money, fast. When you're older, you understand that it's not about fast money now, it's about growing and then earning more in the future and having those opportunities. But it sounds like there's a similar thing there with the peer pressure. But it's interesting with the school thing you're saying, right? Because that surely is an area that needs investment into, but how do you then focus on that if there isn't that incentive like you're saying? It's almost,
that's what I'm saying, that when they go on to develop the government school for good, like I'm not sure What current government will do, I'm pretty sure they'll do good in Delhi. But the earlier government, the AAP government, they were doing pretty good in government schools. And we saw the significant change in generation, like they were motivated to study more. The motivation for my housemate staff was they were getting food over there in schools. And when you boil down to that level to be educated, it breaks your heart to, imagine that whether they are going there to study or whether they are going to get feed over there.
Yeah.
The motivation part doesn't drive from that they want a change. That drives from, what do you say, majboori bolna chahta hu main.
Desperation.
The desperation of getting the resources for free.
Okay. That makes sense.
Not from the career growth part or looking for a change and making, the family's life better or my life better.
Mm-hmm.
The narrative is you're going to be better off if you are at school rather than at home, because you're going to be getting free food. You're going to be away from this society for good 8 hours. And we'll be better off working in someone's house, in our job when you are not around.
Yeah.
So that narrative has to change. It's going to take long time because we are not working on our population. It's growing at a fast pace and we need to work on that.
No, but I don't think growing population is a disadvantage. It's always an advantage. It's just that we are not able to manage that population.
But it's harnessing it, right? It's utilizing it in a way, and in that sense you need that infrastructure in there. So what you're saying about there, the motivations to do things is to further yourself. But also with kids, putting that pressure on that child to understand why they're going through education, that shouldn't be the kid's responsibility.
Yeah.
And I think that's something in the UK which we have as an advantage, is it's just what's done. There's no questioning it. Like, you go to school, you go to primary school, you go to secondary school or high school, you go to college, you go to uni. Like, that is the path that people take. It's not a question about why wouldn't you, because everyone does.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be making those decisions when you're that young.
And I think if we dig deep more into this, what I have realized is people are just not hungry enough in terms of what they want to do in life, because we are trying to find people who wants to work honestly, and we are not able to find a single person.
It's not an India problem. I think that's a world problem.
Yeah.
We have a huge problem in the UK with lower paid jobs because we stopped a lot of migration of European workers whose economies were worse, and they'd come and work for minimum wage. The ignorance and the arrogance of so many young British kids who think they're too good. They'll go and live with mummy and daddy because they'll feed them. And they don't need to go and bust their ass doing a hard, tough job.
You know, it's funny. I used to work at this warehouse in Hertfordshire.
Okay.
Right. And over there, whenever there was more work, the managers would straight up come up to the Indians or Asian people to ask if you're gonna work more, and they won't even go to the white or British people to ask them because they know the answer. They're like, we don't want to work.
Yeah. People want to get paid for doing less work.
The main thing I have seen over there about people is they are entitled. So in COVID, the government was paying the money, right, to the employees even when you're sitting home. I got paid for an year. Yeah. Right. And for me, when I told my family, my dad was like, what the fuck, you're getting paid? You're sitting at home and your job was also not that big or something. At that time, I was working in Dune, London.
Okay.
As a sales associate. So
the shoe brand.
Yeah, the shoe brand. So, I mean, my colleagues were like, oh, they're just paying 50% of my salary. I'm like, what the fuck? You're getting paid for nothing.
Yeah.
What do you mean? So I think people are very much entitled there. They think the government should do everything for them.
Completely. And that comes back to the hunger thing, right?
Yeah.
I think the advantage, if you are someone that's hungry, if you do say yes to opportunities, we're currently living in a society where you will stand out if you put the effort in.
Yeah.
And I think if you're coming from somewhere like the UK, because you're given so many opportunities, you can fuck loads of them up.
Yeah.
I screwed up school. I didn't try hard enough. I left college after a year. I messed around. I did the wrong things. But because I chose at the right time to say yes and knuckle down, I was able at 23, 24 to be in a good position because there are all of those opportunities. And if you flip that, the amount of opportunities we get for some people who don't get those opportunities, it is, I think I'm frustrated with myself, and I'm frustrated with the UK as a society because we don't realise how fortunate we are to be given doors at every single opportunity. You mess up, doesn't matter, because there'll be another door that opens after 6 months hard work if you're willing and driven to do so. And social media contributes to that as well, because people can now do it on their own back if they're hungry. Like what you guys are doing here. Like, no one's told you to do this, right?
Yeah.
You've said, this is something that's cool, this is something that's growing, I want to do it. What's it going to take? Me getting off my arse and doing it. But at the moment, I think across the world, in younger generations, people don't want to get off their arse and do it. They'd rather watch other people do it on social media, and they can sit there.
That's why the anxieties and depressions. Yeah. Sitting idle at home.
Yeah, the ADHD stuff as well. Like, I can't sit still. I've never been tested for ADHD. I annoy my girlfriend. I annoy everyone I'm around if I'm like stuck with them in a room, because I can't sit still and just chill out. I'm not going and getting an ADHD test. I'm going to utilize that energy and put it into something. Like,
you got your guess now. Now you're done.
yes, bro. Like, what do we need? What do we need? Why are we finding a problem with everything? Just crack on.
We should let him know. So the last guest we had a bit of like a debate, healthy debate about this ADHD, anxiety. So we were trying to understand, like, so how you said it, like, you think you have ADHD, but you're not going to get a test. You're just gonna like work on yourself, right?
Yeah.
So that's why the bump.
Got you. It's all self-reflection, right? I think anxiety is... I've suffered with anxiety. My mum has had really, really bad anxiety to the point where she's not been able to work. And as soon, I noticed the shift in her when she had to push the boat out and make a change. If you're doing something and you're motivated by it, and you don't have the time to be anxious, what have you got to be worried about? There is a medical condition there, like people who are still doing things but are constantly second guessing it and questioning themselves, imposter syndrome, etc. That is part of life, and I'm sure there are people that suffer with it worse. But I guarantee you, the people that are achieving well because they're working hard and they're motivated by what they're doing and they're not giving themselves time to sit there and worry about what they're doing, won't have as much anxiety as people who are not making that jump and are scared to because they think they can't do it.
And I'm pretty sure with science evolving and with this capitalism rising, in next 10 years, we will have 100,000 different terms like ADHD, anxiety, personality disorder. I'm pretty sure we'll get 100,000 more terms like this.
And I'm pretty sure about we're gonna be making a big business out of it, the brands, because they're gonna be coming out of quick fixes like ashwagandhas to lower your stress hormone. Then they come off like quick fix for your gut health.
There will be more professions like therapist and all those sorts.
And so much of it will be placebo as well, right?
Yes,
that's the thing.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
if you think it's doing something for you, it's probably going to.
I like placebo.
Exactly.
And I like placebo.
Yeah.
If it's doing something great for you,
working in your favor, then it's good.
Then it's good for you. I'm totally in favor of it. But what I'm trying to say, try to do that business only.
Mm-hmm.
Work your ass off.
Yeah.
You know you have been through anxiety. Yeah. Let's invent the new ashwagandha then.
Yeah.
Why can't you do that shit?
Precisely.
So someone said to me, I have a borderline OCD. Mm-hmm. And then I started
was that you?
Then I started thinking about it, and I thought it is true, but it is good. I like to keep my things clean. Yeah. So I can't see a single thing on the table like this. It's a good thing. So it's just the perspective, how you see at things.
Precisely. It's glass half full, glass half empty.
Yeah.
That's all it is. If you're thinking, oh, this is stopping me from doing something, it's because you don't want to do it in the first place. 9 times out of 10, I think. I'm not a medical expert, so I'm sure there are people who are going to say I'm talking rubbish.
Yeah, no.
And that's probably the case. But having gone through anxiety, it was at a time when I wasn't really leaving the house. And then as soon as I started seeing my friends and working harder, suddenly things started clicking, and I started working out who I was as well. I think that's something younger generations in modern society, you are exposed to so many people doing amazing things. You're constantly looking at yourself being like, who am I? And also, why am I not doing these things that these people are? And that pressure that you're putting on yourself, there are billions of people on this planet, and there's 50 people that are on social media in that echo chamber of yours and in that sort of sphere that you're that your algorithm is feeding you, why are you trying to be one of those 50? Look around yourself.
True.
Look at what you're doing, and
I
you're not doing it.
I completely agree with that. I think it's just that when we are so much immersed in these apps, it's just like a natural tendency, and we just unconsciously compare ourselves with like all
Like
these
comparison
people.
is the killer.
Completely.
Today, if I'm gonna address the most depression and anxieties, it's totally on comparison. Like you see these influencers showing their shirts off, and you're gonna plan on doing those abs. You're planning to make those body, and you give up on gym. He just posted the reel on his Instagram page that the compounding is gonna happen in gym when you're gonna spend 10 hours over there.
Yeah, I
You-
saw that. Yeah. You're
Yeah.
right though. As soon
So-
as it becomes habit, and,
Yeah.
and you're happier for it. It's not.
And what current generation or the most of us are doing is
Shortcuts.
shortcuts. They're trying to find quick fixes in whether buying a good protein shake or a creatine. That's not gonna do that. Have you asked yourself whether to take a complete balanced diet and work your ass off?
Yeah.
Question yourself. Just question yourself. I don't want to be a fat guy.
Well, that's it.
That's it.
That's completely.
That's the
it.
question over there. I just don't want to be a fat person.
Everybody who is ripped is because they put the effort in the gym.
Yeah.
It's not Ozempic. You can't just like take this drug and suddenly you're massive.
Well, you can.
Wow, yeah. But
If you want.
you still got to put the hours in. No, I wonder if it is entitlement again. I wonder if it is the younger generations thinking that everything needs to be given to them. I'm interested about Indian younger generations more in the middle to upper classes of the influence of social media and how that's playing out. Is it the same as in the UK?
More or less, yes. But what exactly are you trying to figure out about them?
So in terms of like everyone's on TikTok now
Yeah.
in the UK. I know TikTok isn't here, but Instagram and other
Yeah.
channels. Is that a huge part now of just popular culture in India? Because everything now on what people are talking about in school
Yeah.
and stuff is all just TikTok.
It is somewhat true, but not to the extent how it is in the UK. So let's say if you have 1 million followers over here, yes, you are someone, but I think you will get more respect and money if you are in the UK.
Okay.
Again, because of the numbers, over here 1 million is not that big. Over there 1 million is really big.
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. But that also comes with people coming up and then falling off. I think that fall off is something that people aren't talking about either. These kids that are thrust into this world that they have no learning on, and then suddenly the stuff that they're doing isn't relevant anymore because we know trends and
Yeah.
popular things change
Yeah.
on social media. Where is the support network for those people that go through that?
I think we have not even built that much of the, what do you call it? Like the thing has not been built that much where we will talk about that, because let's say even this work I am doing, even my parents say to me like, what the fuck are you doing? Go do something useful. Do you get it?
Yeah.
Like even though they understand the long game and everything, they support me, but at the same time they don't consider this like a serious work.
Got you. I think that's different in the UK. I think parents see now
Yeah.
that you can make this a career. And it's because sport, I was having a conversation with someone about sport in India. Like with the Olympics, for example, China utilised their large population and are top of the medal table every single
Yeah,
Olympics
yeah.
because
Yeah.
they're devoting a proportion of these people into that sport. And somebody told me that doesn't happen in India because parents don't see sport as a viable option because the money isn't there. What point does that change? Same with social media, same with stuff like you guys are doing. When does that perception
you
change?
got it exactly right, because even in sports now, after seeing all the fame and money in cricket, because the competition is so much, they just want to be safe for their kid, so they don't support that dream because they know it's very risky. So I think it's just that. What do
And
you
the
think?
structure is such in India that you are not motivated by the government too. I'm not bashing India again. So if you want to be a shot put, you know what shot, right?
Yeah.
If you want to be a shot put thrower, you won't be getting any of the funds from Indian government the way US does it, the way China is doing it. If they are paying a certain budget of 5 million for a shot put, India is not working towards it right now. So the resources are pretty less to take that risk.
Okay.
So let's talk about one player. There's Neeraj Chopra. He's a javelin thrower.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Someone's spoken to me
He
about this guy.
did something amazing in Olympics. So he stood out last Olympic to last Olympic. He came first. So he did pretty good on his behalf only. He managed to stand on that podium by his resources only. I'm not sure how much government supported him or motivated him, but I'm pretty sure he took his ass off. He took his own risk, his own way.
And
But at the same time,
plus what he's saying, he had the money.
Yeah.
He had the family support of money.
yeah. So by that time, China is doing something. China is doing something, as in they have thought it as like a more countries are not paying attention towards it. Okay, I know Olympic is a big deal, but it's not as big a deal as football. It's not as bigger of a football for a UK,
Yeah.
cricket for a India,
Yes.
baseball for America. It's not bigger a deal for every country. So what they have done is they have put all the resources towards it, that you can excel at this if we're gonna put more resources towards it. Because much of the countries are not paying much attention towards it.
Makes sense. But if you look at somewhere like Saudi Arabia, there's a big thing about sports washing, right?
Yeah.
Buying golf or attempting to buy golf, buying sports teams, really trying to push their own football league. There is, I think, an opportunity for India to turn around and look at something like sport and say, we have the capacity with the volume of people, the talent pool will be there. If this is something we choose to invest in, we can put India on the map through sport and then inspire future generations. I'm working on something with a charity called Youth Are Unstoppable, who are in schools, and they do sort of classrooms and toilet facilities or washroom facilities, and we're looking at doing something together on sports facilities as well, because I think younger people growing up, if you have something like sport, even if you're not living in the best environment, if you're not surrounded by the most positive sort of outlook, sport can at least be a release for that.
Yeah.
And I wonder why that's something that the government hasn't looked at and thought, well, is that because cricket is played by everyone and they almost think they don't need to because gully cricket is so big and cricket is played anywhere and everywhere by people of all ages?
Well, the money is coming in. Like, we are not far off now. Kabaddi is an Indian sport.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be not on the podium yet.
Now
But it's
like
growing.
a proper league.
It's like a proper league. So we are growing, but you have to realize it. I'm gonna get a bashing for this. We are a poor country. We can't be looking at every sports and trying to make it big. We can't do that right now. The way Saudi does. Saudi is in abundance of money.
Yeah.
And after oil, they are thinking of sports domination.
Yeah.
Wall Street domination is a different thing, but they are thinking of sports as a resource to show their power now. So they are buying leagues over there in
Yeah.
UK
They
as
bought
well.
Cristiano Ronaldo. What do you mean?
Yeah.
That's a whole league.
Crazy.
Yeah. So I know India can do wonders, but football wasn't there in India yet.
No, but
now
but-
there's an
but-
Indian
but-
Super League.
Mm-hmm.
So we are going towards it. You can question that it's pretty slow, but we are far better off if you look 5 years behind.
Okay.
But I like his insight. So he
Yeah,
mentioned
that's totally
he
perfect.
he-
You have put it
the
across well.
insight he mentioned, the sports can be a getaway for most of, so like if someone has free time, right, and he has nothing to do, he will do some sort of bad shit, right?
Yeah.
So sports is a way where you can channelize their energy, and it's a good insight.
Football's like that in the UK. You have kids who, if they weren't in academies playing football, young kids from not great places, where there's violence, where there's drug dealing, sport for them is a outlet that they can utilise that sort of young exuberance, which we all have when we're growing up. It doesn't matter what society you've grown up in, what economic situation your family's in. Every kid wants to go and play. Every kid wants to go and do something.
But
How do you channel that?
I think with the sports in general, what I am seeing is just going down all over the world with technology, with phones, iPads. Because now I don't see a lot of kids playing cricket. I don't.
Everyone's like this, right?
Yeah,
All you're doing is this all
Yeah.
day.
exactly.
It's sad. It's sad. But that's the way we're going. Right? I didn't have social media until I became a journalist.
How old are you, by the way?
I'm nearly 27.
Oh, you same age. I don't know why I have to ask to every guest how old I am. Yeah, I don't
worries.
know. I just
Yeah.
have a thing.
Just to feel younger.
I don't care about that.
But no, I didn't have any social media until I became a journalist. because
Your life must be so peaceful.
It was
back
great.
then.
It was great. And now you do get absorbed by it, right?
Yeah.
And it's a tool that you have to use. When I was working in radio, I needed to be on Twitter because I needed to find people to
Yeah.
speak to on a quick sort of, I got 20 minutes to find somebody to interview about this, which is happening 50 miles away, and I can't be there because I need to be here doing what I'm doing. The way it can be utilised is really positive, but I think the negative impact, something like adolescence, showing that, I think we need to grow. I think we need to grow as societies, and I don't know how we get to that point where we start understanding the negative impacts of what is happening and where we're going, because it's almost like social media is moving, AI is also moving at a rate that's faster than we are as people and we
Way
are
too
as society.
faster.
So at what point do you put a cap on it? Well, you can't.
You
because
can't
these things-
undo it now.
No.
I think we are beyond
And
that
why,
stage.
and why do you have to
Why
undo
do we
it?
have to undo it? If we're gonna talking about only the negative parts, I guess it's gonna get worse from here. It's not
What
Yeah.
are the negatives?
like the attention span part. The kids, you only mentioned the
but-
sports not getting.
But again, that's up to you.
yeah, up
You
to
can still meditate for an hour and be on 10 hours on social media and work, it's up to everything is on
But
you.
that doesn't make up for the 10 hours of social media, the 1 hour of meditation. What we are trying to figure over here is like social media is very important.
Right.
But what you are trying to accomplish for it is just scrolling. You are not here to produce anything. You are just
Yeah.
consuming the unnecessary information,
Yeah.
and you're not using it to your advantages.
Your mindset's different because you're seeing it as a tool.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
thinking this is a platform I can utilize to grow my brand, to grow my business, to grow
Same
what
thing
I'm
he is doing, right?
Yeah.
Same thing you are doing.
Yeah, completely. It is. I've got social media because I realise it's something that can further me in my journey through what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But the people that are using social media as getting their news, coming back to news, the issue with fake news is something that we now have no control over and we won't be able to.
A lot of adulteration.
Completely, it's an unsolvable problem now, because everybody has access to like creating something and posting it. And again, coming back to the thing we were talking about earlier, the hateful stuff, the clickbait stuff is more interesting to people because no one cares about the boring normalities of politicians and what they're going through. Kids now aren't learning about that aspect. They're learning about the Andrew Tate stuff. They're learning about that hate level of things. So that's where social media is really warping people's perceptions. If as we said earlier, the media control the narrative around wars, around economies, around politics. If you're then opening that up to everyone and the media now becomes unregulated, what is the truth anymore?
But okay, I agree somewhat, but don't you think that makes it even more better because now it is decentralized in a way, so the real information is also coming out and people can see for themselves what is the reality. So recently there is this one stand-up comic, he got cancelled, Samir, and I don't know if you know about
No,
it.
I don't.
It was like a big controversy over here.
The show is called India's Got Latent. If you
No, I haven't.
All right.
So he got cancelled on some of the things that happened in the show, but now again all the people who watches him, who knows him, they are supporting him, even though media and the narrative is trying to cancel him. But the people know it, and I have not met any person who is not supporting him. Do you get it? So
I understand.
it has made in a way where it has pros and cons both, but I think it's a good in a way because it is so decentralized now that no one can hide the truth as well. If they can't like hide it, but like if you're smart enough, you will know the truth.
Yeah, but what happens to the people that aren't smart enough?
Yeah, that's
And also, would he even have been cancelled if we didn't have social media? The whole cancel
True,
culture
true.
is something that's come through social media. So it's all of these issues that are now derived off the fact that social media exists.
True.
Before we had that, we didn't have those issues. So yes, the positive is that the truth is coming out on certain situations, but that situation wouldn't have happened in the first place.
That's true.
And the most absurd part to the human psychology is pessimism is gonna be selling at higher rate.
Yeah.
Like you can't tell the whole public to just consume the positive and optimistic part of it. They're gonna be getting into the algorithm of negativity and pessimism only, because that sounds smart. That's the smartest thing for them. Talking against someone, talking bullshit about the government who's in power.
So should we start rolling again and start talking about contrarian things? Because I'm pretty sure people are getting bored by this serious talk.
Well, when we talk about the geopolitics, what do you get out of this Israel and Iran situation? What do you think?
It's a tragedy.
It's a tragedy.
That's the first thing that I get. As somebody who covers news and covers these conversations, it is just a tragedy. The loss of life on a scale that is unfathomable. It really is at a level where there are just people being killed because of where they grew up and where they were born. And there's no protection for those people. The atrocities that happened in Israel by Hamas is horrific. The atrocities that are now happening following that is also horrific. Both sides have lost. There is not a winner. There's not one side which is saying, we're glad this is happening.
Yeah.
Everyone loses.
Same like Russia and Ukraine. No one's glad.
I mean, in every war, that's what happens. No one wins.
Other than the economy.
Yeah.
The economy in war times, everyone's economy goes up.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that wins out of war.
Who makes the most money beyond defense companies? Who makes the most money?
If you're mobilizing the whole nation and people are creating things and things are being bought by the government, those funds are going into businesses.
So US does.
So any country that's manufacturing, right? Now, currently, it will be the weapons suppliers. They'll be making all the money.
So I figure out that US gives them aids and then they buy the stuff from US only.
Massively, yeah. There's a huge thing with the Russia-Ukraine war at the moment. It's minerals deals. So basically, the US under Joe Biden and his administration have pumped billions of dollars into Ukraine for this military aid. Whether that's them giving them aid directly or saying, here's the money for you to go and get it yourself. Trump's now come in and said, we've given you billions of dollars. Right, we want something back. Parts of Ukraine are rich in minerals, which are really important in modern technology. So that's a big conversation that's happening right now. But again, it's all financial.
Yep.
The whole thing revolves back to the one bigger picture, which is
in a simpler term, it's like US making 1 billion out of this war and donating them 200 million. Let's fuck off. Shut your eyes now. Now you're gonna be buying more from us, and then we're gonna be giving you more aid. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, the only big players over here are US, who are at the same time they are, if I'm correct, they are supplying weapons to Israel.
Yeah.
And at the same time, they are providing aid to Iran.
So they've cut pretty much all aid. That was one of Trump's big things. So Trump, coming into power for a second term, has said, we've been focusing on every other country far too much. Now it's about making America great again. MAGA, his big thing. And he's looked at, right, we're giving this country millions of dollars, we're giving this country millions of dollars, and he's shut it off. The humanitarian impact that will have on places with famines, places with civil wars. Again, that's not being talked about. But the ramifications of Trump's decision to go no more is huge. But in essence, what he's saying is, again, feeding into that right wing that we were talking about at the start. People are saying our standard of living isn't great. There are people addicted to fentanyl who can't afford health insurance. We don't have public health care, yet we're sending billions of dollars over here.
Yeah.
Why aren't you looking after the people in your own country? And Trump's going, well, yeah. And if Trump can stop all of these wars, he's looking at a Nobel Peace Prize, he's looking at a legacy.
Yeah. Well, he looks keen though.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's keen to stop the war.
And I'm quite sure he will be able to.
I don't think so.
They because now he's been elected for what, next 4 years.
Next 4.
So
you're saying for next 4 years the war still will be going on? Please don't.
I'm not sure about it.
Please
I'm not sure about it. But what I think is, what I'm disappointed with Israel is, I'm not picking any sides over here, I used to think Israel as a good supreme power, Netanyahu, if I'm pronouncing the name
Yeah,
correct.
you are.
And I think Israel failed at stretching it a lot. It shouldn't have been like this. It could have ended 6 months back, 5 months back. I'm not giving it a number.
Yeah.
But he pushed it too far with what he did.
How does we know he pushed it too far?
Like
Come on.
I get what you're saying. I think it's a common
his narrative
discussion.
which is coming through bombarding Iran. It's his narrative. Like Hamas does the most theatrical hostage release I have ever seen.
Yeah.
Like they are the bullshitters too. I totally believe
they're
it.
holding dead hostages, which in
Yeah.
terms of warfare, this isn't coming from me. It's experts on our news channel that we've had on. In warfare, if you have hostages that are dead, you give them back. Keeping
Hostages.
dead hostages that might be in pieces. We're not talking about full bodies. There was a hostage that was released, and they gave the wrong body, and it was in pieces. They had to do tests on it. Like the level of depravity we're talking in those instances. This is why I don't think there is a side which can be right or wrong.
Yeah.
And discourse across the world is you're either pro-Palestine or you're pro-Israel. At what point do we say you're pro-humanity? It doesn't matter which side you're looking at. But what's happened to Israel is horrific.
I'm trying to say over here is he did make it stretch it for his military failure, the spying failure which happened, and for that he shredded so far. He could have ended pretty early, which I think, which is totally my opinion
Yeah.
on it.
You should have just like give him a call and ask him. You're talking like that.
No, I think for him, for Israel at the moment, they've said very clearly since they've resumed hostilities in Gaza, they've said we want all hostages returned, we want Hamas out of Gaza so they can't attack us again, and we want to disband any sort of Islamist proxy militant group from being able to attack them because they have the US behind them. The US are fighting their own sort of battle with Iran at the moment over a nuclear deal.
Yeah.
They withdrew themselves from a 2015 nuclear deal, which placed sanctions on Iran. Since they removed themselves, Iran have allegedly increased their uranium production, their capabilities to have nuclear weapons. And now Trump's going, oh, we can't have this, so sign a deal or we might bomb you. And then they're turning around and saying, well, let's blow the whole thing up and we'll acquire nukes if we have to. The geopolitical situation is tense at the moment. I think we're at a point. I actually made like an explainer right when I first joined the company, and it was about, are we heading towards World War III? And this is, I'm not trying to scare people, and it's not doom mongering, but the geopolitics at the moment is so divided.
Don't you get, like, you personally get like overwhelmed by all this information? So we were discussing earlier in one of our podcasts. So I was saying that we should not even consume most of the news out there. But your work is this, right? So like on a personal level, don't you feel like so overwhelmed because most of it is like negative news, right? So much negative news around the world going on, and you are consuming it all the time because of work, because of whatever reason. Doesn't it like affect your personal well-being?
Yeah, but you become desensitized to it, right? If you're a paramedic and you're going to a motorbike crash of a 16-year-old who's shredded himself to bits, that's going to have an impact to you. But when you do that for the second time, the third time, you become desensitized to it. And also, I get what you're saying in your earlier sentiment about people not wanting to read the news. My grandma doesn't watch the news. She'll watch me because she wants to see me.
Yeah.
But she doesn't watch it because it is so negative. But my job as an anchor, as a correspondent, is somebody has to do this. The news needs to be there in a correct format, which is accessible to people. Whether people choose to do that or not is their decision. But the news has to be out there, because then we feed back into disinformation and social media and things being unregulated. But it has to be done, and someone has to do it. But it's not like I'm not experiencing it. So although it's horrific to hear about, like I'm looking at a camera, I'm reading something, I'm writing something and then reading it out loud. There are a few moments where I've teared up. I remember hearing a story about a load of kids that got killed in a bombing, and I don't know why that hit me more, but for some reason that one stuck out and it hit me. and I had to take 5 minutes and just be like, hold on a second. Well, it was, you know what it was? There was a discussion about 2 Israeli kids that were part of the hostages, and one was months old, one was 3-4 years old, and they were strangled to death. Basically, that's what they've sort of worked out. They were killed by bare hands. And then I was on a program where we were having a debate about it, and we had a pro-Palestine voice, a pro-Gaza voice, and a pro-Israeli voice, and these people are arguing against each other. And at that point, I was like, we've forgotten the people here. We're talking about kids that have potentially been strangled to death, that are 18 months old and 4 years old, and their parents, their dad's been released. Mum was the one whose body was unidentifiable, and they then sent the wrong body back. So that is tough. That is difficult, right? Hearing those stories, but you have to put the blinkers on, because at that point it then becomes a repetition, and it becomes normal.
Yeah, no, I can relate to it now, because whenever we see so many poor people out there on the streets in India, Delhi, we have been like decent, like, we don't pay that much. Like, it feels sad for a bit, but now like, what can you do?
What can you do? We are ultimately.
Why do you
helpless.
think wars happen? For me, it's like a leader's ego, his show of power comes across. Why do you think the wars happen?
I think that's part of it. Wars never not happened. So just because we're now in a modern society where we have borders and we say this is this country, this is that country, ultimately it's just a patch of land that's sitting in some water. Like, India's a prime example of that, right? India was bigger. Pakistan didn't exist. Like, we're looking at these now set borders. This has been happening since existence has happened.
Ottoman Empire.
We're looking at the reality of the situation, that there's greed, there is ego, there's people wanting more. Russia was the Soviet Union. So I don't agree with this opinion, but Vladimir Putin's justification is, we were the Soviet Union. We were this big country. Within 50 years, 30 years, 40 years, all these countries have popped up. But before that, this was the Soviet Union. Why is it now that those borders are the correct ones and the ones that were 50 years ago weren't? You can understand that conversation. I don't agree with it, but borders are flux, right? It's all a concept. Money is a concept. It's all things that we've created as a society. Nuclear weapons are a concept that we have created. They didn't exist.
So you're talking more on the terms of humanity now.
Completely.
I love that.
Completely. It is. But ultimately, wars will keep happening. People want more. People have claims to different parts of land. They're never going to stop. The whole thing between Israel and Iran and Gaza and Lebanon is religion. It's been going on forever. India, Pakistan, I know less about it, but there is a religious divide there, right? You're 2 different groups of people, different ideologies. It might not be all of it, but that's definitely a part of it. People have fights at school. You've got one group of friends versus another group of friends. You might have 2 schools in similar localities. You guys are going to fight just because you're different. That's just how we're ingrained. We want more, and we want to fight for it.
Then there's China too, who doesn't address any of the talks.
No,
which we do.
Yeah,
like China is deaf to our talks.
Recently, I have been seeing some reels out of China. It's amazing. They are like developing on a crazy level, and people are not even aware of it. Do you cover like Chinese news?
We do. We cover a lot of Chinese news. Not really directly in China, but the geopolitical sort of ramifications of what China are doing. But
the geopolitics over there is so messed up, because everything is owned by government in the
I don't trust any bit of China. Any news comes across from China.
You can't even fucking own a Chinese stock. So so it's like in China, if you own the stock, you are not actually owning the company, like how it is around the world. Over there, the government controls that company. So indirectly, even though if I'm owning a stock in China, that stock is owned by government, Chinese government. So
back to social media, TikTok is ultimately owned by the Chinese government.
Yeah.
And the accessibility that platform has, there is a real concern. The US politics banned TikTok. It's only still about because of technicalities.
Yeah.
It went down for a couple of days, but there is a serious risk to security.
Yeah.
And that's coming from China. DeepSeek, for example, the new version of ChatGPT, which they've allegedly done in like 1,000th of the budget. If you're using that app and they have access to that, there's nothing that they don't
But
know.
what my argument over here is, so yes, they're stealing that data, right? But even ChatGPT is, even Apple is. So so on my iPad, so there is this one rainbow colored borders randomly pops up, right? And I have no idea what's happening. Yesterday I googled it and it told me, so it's Apple Intelligence telling you it is listening right now. So and even on ChatGPT with this new trend going on, people are creating these Ghibli images, right? So he tweeted, Sam Altman tweeted, so all the images you are uploading, we are going to take those images and train it for AI. So basically anything you're uploading on ChatGPT, they are using that data. So I mean, ChatGPT is an American country.
You gave your consent.
Yeah.
You didn't read it, but
what-
you consent.
But what I'm coming on is, so everyone steals data. All American or other companies steal data. It's just that they do it in they do it in a ethical and a moral way. So
Says who?
that
Says who? That's perception, because America can't be the bad guys. China are.
Narrative.
so
That's the narrative.
okay, they're not doing it in an ethical way, but they're doing in a way where not everyone thinks it's bad. But when a Chinese company does it, then the American media or narrative brings them to that they are bad.
Yeah.
Let me reframe it. It's like you
I'm
American.
sorry, they're not doing it in the ethical or moral way.
No, America's.
I was more just challenging you, because that's currently what our perception is. In
America
50 years,
will-
China might be the America, and people might look
Yeah.
at the US as what they're looking at China
Yeah,
now.
yeah,
just
yeah.
because the US is the historical bigger economy because of basically the world wars and how the US dollar then became the global currency. The way that the Indo-Pacific is moving, that won't be the case in 30,
Yeah.
40 years. So then that's perception, right? We'll be looking at it differently,
Yeah.
because China will be the world leader in all of these
And
things.
they will drive the narrative.
They will drive the narrative.
Yeah.
That's where
But-
India will grow too, because India will become the third largest economy.
But do you think during this Indo-Pacific war going on, do you think India needs to pick side in China and US?
No. No, and I say that because I don't think China and the US will actually go to war. I think that the changes are already happening.
But I don't think
you-
China's gonna be
But
ever be, I can't trust them what they are doing. Like everybody thinks they are in a property, upstream. But recently, what the data has shown that the property has gone totally burst. The builders
The
are flying
economy's
off.
screwed at the
Economy
moment,
is
yeah.
screwed.
Yeah,
You
they're
can't
really
trust
fighting
them.
it.
But how do you believe that this kind of government or this kind of country is gonna be a supreme power?
Volume of people.
Volume of people.
The volume of people. So what the Chinese government are trying to do, they're looking for a 5% growth rate. And that's the sort of golden standard that they're looking for. And they've been growing massively. They've got a huge issue with the population. There's an aging population, and they used to have a child ban, right? So you could have one child, and you couldn't have more. But they changed that because there are too many old people.
So
and not
I
enough
can't
workers.
I can't wrap my head around the things like the people are going missing. Jack
Yeah.
Ma
But
type of
that's what I'm coming on. So if they can figure out a way to come on actual democracy and not just like say democracy for the sake of saying it, they can actually follow democracy, they will be the next US, I think. Why not? Because they are growing
democracy is not the answer.
That is the answer, because that is the only problem. It's not about their economy.
You can call it to Nepal, then it was a monarchy. It fell off. Now they are in a democracy. Then now they are demanding the monarchy again.
So you are saying you can't trust them because you are not trusting the government. So as soon as if they become a democracy, then you can start trusting them again. That's what I'm trying to say.
But the change will only happen when things are struggling. People overthrow, like people and militaries overthrow governments because the country is struggling.
Yeah.
If the country's prosperous, you won't have a coup. You won't then have a civil war.
And they were not a democracy. Maybe that's why they reached here. And India is a democracy, and we are not able to get there.
Do you think democracy is the answer?
I think democracy is a must if you're looking at an open world. If you're looking at no censorship, if you're looking at just things being how they should, democracy is the best way to do it. But what democratic system? Who knows? In the UK, we have a voting system which is first past the post. So what that means is it's done on areas, and you have MPs for constituencies. You might have a party that finishes second in every single vote. They've got the most votes out of all the parties, vastly, but they don't have any seats because it's done locally. But then in Europe, on the flip side, you have proportionate representation, which means that for every vote that you get, then they share out the number of seats. But then you have loads of coalitions. I don't think we found the right way to do it yet. Yeah. And I think there's potentially... This is a question I always ask myself, because why can we have the richest people in the world that can do anything they want to, and people that are so poor that can't even afford to eat, can't have clean drinking water? How do we have that gap? What is it? Do we need some form of communism where everyone has a base level? But then why would people have incentives to work in horrible jobs? Because there wouldn't be an incentive there, because you could do anything you wanted to and you know you'd have that security. I think it's an unanswerable question.
Which country do you think has figured out the most till now?
I think democracy's
Not in just terms of democracy, in general. Like, you think like Finland, because their happiness index is more like, I'm just talking in general about everything.
I mean sort of countries like Sweden, Denmark, Scandinavian countries, they do it well. I mean, the prison systems over there are really good. Alcohol's really expensive. The wages are really high comparatively.
Taxes are higher.
People are happier.
Girls are prettier.
Yeah, absolutely, without a doubt. That's probably why everyone's happy.
That's somewhat related to happiness, right?
without a doubt. Yeah, especially in Sweden.
Yeah, I was gonna Swedish.
100%. But no.
I thought Finnish.
No,
Really?
Swedish.
Okay.
Crazy, man. Crazy. Yeah.
I won't roll my eyes. I'm married.
he also has a girlfriend.
Yeah, I'm very, very happy. That sounded like I wasn't. That sounded like I was being sarcastic. They do it well, but ultimately, like, we're at a sticky point, right? And we're also coming out of COVID, which I mentioned earlier. Governments are still working out how they're going to recover from that.
Yeah.
Economies across the world are struggling because businesses have struggled. If you look at the post-war boom after World War II, like in the 60s, 50s, 60s, it was a swing in 60s because everybody had more money. You've come from war, everything's then growing.
What are the struggles you are saying economies are going through still because of COVID? What are those struggles? Because I don't see any. Businesses are like getting better.
They're getting better from where they were. Things are now growing once again. But economies are struggling because when you lose businesses, people lose jobs. If people can't go to work and businesses can't stay open, people lose jobs. I'm talking about the working middle class group.
Who got affected during that particular phase.
Got directly affected. Yeah, you were talking earlier about I can't remember what the word that we use, but people being paid by the government.
That word, furlough.
That's it. Furlough, absolutely. That cost on the government was massive.
Yeah.
And they weren't getting anything back from that. The amount of money it cost to buy all these vaccines, AstraZeneca, Pfizer, Moderna, these businesses really profited because of COVID. People who had contracts to get PPE and emergency equipment really profited. But that money came from the government. Where does that money come from? Taxes. If the people are being taxed but they're not working and they're losing their jobs, the filter down process of that. And then you're looking at stocks crashing in certain businesses. If you own a cruise line, everyone's locked down. These cruise companies, they lose their market value overnight. Then on the flip side, there are businesses that will have risen, but the jolt that took on the economy is huge, and we can't underestimate that. And different countries dealt with it differently, right? The strain on healthcare.
Yeah.
Some countries lost hundreds of thousands of people. The strain on the healthcare system is huge. That has a cost.
No one had a clue what to do. I haven't seen so many governments failing at the same time.
Yeah. And then it's a comparison, right? It's like they locked down earlier, less people dying, but then their economy's struggling more. I'm not an economist and I'm not a politician, so it's difficult to truly comment on it. But
why does geopolitical things run like only covering the bigger issues? I mean, it's being addressed by the most media houses. Why aren't issues of Sudan, you know, what's happening over there, like?
Media's ultimately racist. And that's, I'm not saying as like the people working in media are racist, but if you look at Africa as a continent, it's more underdeveloped. The revenue and the income that can be made off Africa is lower. People with access to world news channels is lower.
But that's an interesting thing about Africa. I'll tell you, in India, we don't think Africa is an exotic thing.
Okay.
Like US and UK, I'm pretty sure does.
Yeah.
They have controlled the narrative of Africa as being an exotic place. But we somewhat realize that what they go through,
Yeah.
Africans, because India,
I don't think they also
I-
think
I-
that it's an exotic place.
I don't know if we think
US does. They treat it like as a wild safari journey. That's why you see so many US people going over there and enjoying, and they end up adopting few children.
That might be
donating.
South Africa.
I don't think that's necessarily the sort of geopolitical aspect. I think Africa's looked down upon. I think one Sudanese life is not worth as many as one American life. If there's a terrorist attack
True.
in America, 5 people are killed. It's worldwide news everywhere.
Yeah.
If 1,000 people are killed in South Sudan, you might not hear about
I mean,
it.
America has like so good at this. Like, if even one guy gets killed, like everyone would know in this
Yeah.
whole world. Like, I mean, you have to give it to US about like how they've marketed themselves.
But it's the global media which is doing that.
It's the
It's
same
a
as Europe.
Yeah.
But
It's a whole-
it's all audience driven, right? Why do newspapers run certain stories? Because their audience want to listen.
Yeah.
If you're looking at it as a business point of view, we've spoken about the ideal, like why news is good, why it's important. But if you're looking at it from a business point of view, the whole goal is you're trying to give your audience what they want.
Yeah.
If your audience don't care about this, why are you going to give them that?
Like I thought that wildfire in US, it's going crazy. Like I know it's pretty bad, but everyone knows about it.
Yeah.
In US wildfire, but no one knows about what's going in Myanmar.
There's one in South Korea that's been raging for ages. It's
Yeah.
not as much covered.
Not as much covered.
Probably more deaths now. Bigger fires impacting more people in a wider area. But it's not being covered as much. Also, LA is where all the celebrities are. So then you hear about the celebrity houses and the people that have been affected.
Yeah.
But it's like you guys doing this podcast, you wouldn't turn around and
we-
do a mukbang
We
because your audience don't want that.
Yeah.
That's all it's about.
We are also struggling with this thing because we have recently realized if we talk about valuable informational stuff, it doesn't get the views.
Okay.
As soon as you put something very contrarian or something out of the context, then you get the
It's
eyes.
provocative because people have opinions and that feeds the algorithm. If you've got people arguing in your comments, the algorithm's going to pick that video up and say, this is getting engagement, let's push it.
Yeah.
The more controversial you can be, the bigger that is. That might go viral. Idiots like me acting like they know what they're talking about is probably going to help that, right? Like, there's no answer to these issues, but it is interesting, and it comes back to society, I think.
Can you think of a story which is being ignored by the mainstream media right now?
So Sudan's a good one. Humanitarian crises in Africa is really underspoken about. Huge issues politically in countries. I look at somewhere like Russia where media is a lot state driven. There will be stuff going on in Russia that nobody knows about. Not just to bring everything back to conflict, but I use an example of like the Nazis with Jews in World War II. No one knew about the death camps until it was liberated. No one knew the level of Auschwitz-Birkenau. No one knew the millions of Jews that were dying until it was discovered. There will be situations like that happening. Not to that level, but
how long did it take to convey to the general public that this was happening?
it took time. You've got to go in. You've got to speak to these people and understand the level and the scale of this. Like Japan as well. In the Second World War, they had concentration camps, and some Japanese people still don't know about it now. And if it's spoken to, this is not my story. Somebody told me this, and I don't know if it's true, but said that they spoke to a Japanese person about the war and the concentration camps and the links to Nazi Germany, and didn't know and just started crying. Couldn't believe it. Couldn't understand it. And I think that's something that the Western world is doing better now. We still talk about Nazi Germany. We still talk about the millions of Jews that were killed, because if you don't talk about it, you forget it.
Yeah.
And then that's lessons that we can learn. But there will be situations like that happening. Not mass executions, but countries don't want to talk about the atrocities. North Korea, what's going on in North Korea? There's no free media there. Nothing's being told. We don't know. We can guess. People have accounts. People who've escaped North Korea talking about the situation. That's also the value of the media.
I can't believe North Korea still exists the way it does.
Yeah.
In current scenario, the current situation is like so much social media around. How difficult it is to control that country?
Yeah.
Like the way that guy has does. What's the name? I'm forgetting the name.
Kim Jong-un.
Kim Jong-un.
Yeah. Well, Donald Trump's he's met him before, and he's spoken about wanting to go and meet him again. And again, like,
what do they talk about, man?
Apparently
can't change his mind.
Yeah. Well, apparently Kim Jong-un, he loves basketball, right? Dennis Rodman, NBA player who was like Michael Jordan's teammate. He flew over there and they were good mates.
Yeah,
like,
I
set
know.
up his own North
I
Korean
mean,
basketball
that guy is a character in himself. Have you watched that series on Netflix?
The Last Dance.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Have you seen him in
great
that?
series.
It's crazy guy.
Crazy guy. Yeah. Just like, not just the look, but like his lifestyle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's strange. It's strange. I don't know what it will take to change it. Probably people standing up to it.
Killing him.
Well, does that work? Because then you replace him with somebody else.
Yeah,
the regime needs to be overthrown. You need to have an uprising.
Like women are shouting his name, and I know that is all theatrics, and I'm like, he's not that great. You go around, and maybe they haven't seen the men all around the world. They just only know him.
They just want to save their lives.
Yeah.
They will get killed. That's it. Nothing else. There's no other point.
There's stories of North Korea because they qualified for a FIFA World Cup, and like the TV got cut when they like conceded, and then they reported it on the news there that they were winning every game 5-0, and they lost every single game. Like, that's,
really?
That's such a futile sort of example, but it is the level of sort of.
So they ended up winning a World Cup then?
I think so, yeah. I think so.
Yeah, that's what they told to the general public. Yeah.
Wow.
And this is only one of the story. So I got very intrigued about North Korea, and there was this phase where for like few days I was just reading, watching everything I can about North Korea, and my mind was so filled. I was like, I have to stop this, because this is not reality.
Delusional.
Like, this is something. So whenever I have friends from like Western countries, I tell them, you have to come to India. There's other world going on over here. But like when I read about North Korea, it's like another universe over there.
It is. It really is.
I just want to believe it doesn't exist.
We all do.
Yeah. Again, it's perspective. If you don't know any different, that's what you're used to. But that's not even been around for that long, right? Sorry to interrupt you. The splitting of North and South Korea is something that's happened within 100 years.
Yeah.
It's all still very new in the sort of time span of advanced civilizations. It's still new. And it's
so you would say then America is new as well. It's been here for 100 years.
America's really new.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of things, like if you go back to Romans and Egyptians, Aztec communities, like these advanced civilizations that were operating, the Ottoman Empire, you mentioned, like these civilizations are operating.
Just see the infra of Europe and America. That's the answer.
It will change. It's a flux.
The architecture and everything.
I might have read it somewhere that in 150 years the power changes. Am I right?
I don't know that, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes complete sense because it's just a cycle. And at the moment, the Indo-Pacific is growing. Yeah. So our editor-in-chief at NewsX World, he speaks about this a fair amount. You've got 70% of the world's population in the Indo-Pacific.
So the compounding works on a macro level on a 150-year notice.
He's just thinking about investing.
Yeah.
And the world is going towards this multipolar direction right now. Do you think India's gonna be a superpower somewhere down the line, regional power?
I think there already is. I think the US, through their involvement in dollar imperialism, I think the US, like the old British Empire, it's in a different format. It's packaged up as something different. US involved in Taiwan, US involved in Israel. US were allied with Europe, involved with Ukraine. Looking at South America, the influences they have there. Russia also their axis of sort of unity. You look, Iran, Syria was one until Bashar al-Assad was overthrown. China, arguably, if there was going to be a straight divide, you'd say China are aligned with Russia as well. North Korea. North Korean troops are fighting in Eastern Europe against Ukrainian forces.
Really?
Yeah. This stuff isn't talked about. There are over 10,000 North Korean troops that have been sent to fight on the front lines for Russia. Their IDs were taken away. They were given Russian passports, Russian IDs. Their faces were mutilated so that they didn't look like North Koreans when they had all their kit on. And these guys weren't trained properly. But it's a whole loss of life thing.
So why is North Korea supporting Russia?
Because they support each other in ideologies. There'll probably be a behind the doors deal going on.
Communism
makes
sense. Putin and that guy are being friends.
Putin and Kim Jong-un have met each other loads of times. Like we have like a database of footage that we use for our packages and our accompanying visuals when we have debates, and there are some great ones there of like Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un. Kim Jong-un's driving this car, and the both of them, it's like a sitcom or something. It's not like it's real. He's in North Korea, and these two like dictators are just.
And the next thing you know, what's gonna happen next? He's gonna put that on ChatGPT and make a video out of it.
Yeah,
he's gonna do it. He's gonna play with it.
The biggest dictators are just chilling.
Imagine a Putin and Kim Jong-un Ghibli. That would go viral. There's probably already one. It's like you can Photoshop someone else, Photoshop Donald Trump in as well. Get all of them in there.
Okay, so I want to do this short thing we have recently started doing of a fact and a myth.
Okay.
So I will say a short line and you tell me if it's a fact or a myth, and then you can explain it in short as well if you want to. The media only shows what they are paid to show.
It's a myth, but not everywhere.
I just love how uncomfortable I made you to answer that.
There are countries where that is the case.
Yeah.
There are countries where it isn't. If I had to lean one to the other, I'd say it's a myth. But that will change.
Would you say countries or organization?
Countries.
Countries.
Definitely countries. Yeah. Okay. Country to country.
Good journalism can't survive without controversy.
That's a myth as well. Because good journalism is finding the story and presenting it in a way that is the most accessible to your audience. That could be somebody doing something good. You can be celebrating someone.
You don't think yourself as a content creator. You think as a story coverage person.
The whole thing is telling a story.
Yeah.
Everything is telling a story. You're taking this information, you're repackaging it, and presenting it in a way that your audience will understand the most.
I think it's synonym of content creator.
Yeah.
It's just a different word. Because every content creator is telling a story.
No, they are.
I mean, you don't think it's a good story, but that's another.
Yeah.
I know what's going on in your mind. I have to always clear it out on the camera. So he just says a lot of things and he expects people to understand it.
Okay.
No, I don't. I just wouldn't want to explain it. Those are my views.
Yeah.
He thinks common sense is common in common people.
Yeah, isn't it true?
No. It's so true.
Common sense is common. Common sense is not common in common people.
It's a fact, not a myth.
The truth doesn't trend.
Yeah, that's true. That's a fact.
Being neutral in journalism is a myth.
That itself is a myth because you can be. It's just about whether you want to. It's the time it takes to research both sides.
Yeah.
If you're voting in an election, you're not going to read every single manifesto. You could, to know every side of the story.
I think if you want to be neutral in anything, not in journalism, you have to think along the lines of humanity to answer that particular question or answer. Because then it's just easier to answer it, I think.
I think it needs to encompass everything though, because there could be an economic aspect to it that isn't thinking about the humanitarian side.
No, but if there is a war, right?
Mm-hmm.
There is no reason there should be a war. Do you get it? Whatever the problem is, there should not be killing people. That's it. That's what I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get you. I get you. I think war sometimes is necessary because it might happen earlier, and it might be less catastrophic to the wider region. If there's a dispute that's religious, like in Israel and the Middle East, that war has been raging on for ages. What we might be looking at is potentially the Iran-backed groups being shut out completely. That won't then happen again. If that war doesn't happen, then you potentially don't have those new setting of boundaries. Same with World War Two. World War One not as much, but World War Two. Following that war, the things that were put in place stopped a lot of future wars, I believe. Doesn't mean it should have happened, doesn't mean it was a good thing. But I think that's a perspective that should be looked at as well. The atrocities of Nazi Germany, if that hadn't have happened, if the conversations hadn't still been going on now, the lessons wouldn't have been learned.
And then there must have been another war already. Yeah, makes sense.
Like the Germans are pretty ashamed of it yet. Till
Completely.
date, right now. They are pretty ashamed of we did this. So they couldn't haven't realized it if it don't happen.
But Britishers aren't.
Nah.
We aren't. You're right, we aren't.
You know,
Because we don't know about it.
The interesting fact about the British thing, I went to the... They told me to go to the British Museum.
I knew you would brought this up.
And I thought, what I'm going to see inside? There's the artifacts. You looted that artifact from... Am I going to pay for those again? And they're like, don't say that. I'm like, why can't I say that? You looted us.
Did he actually say that?
Yeah. Why would I go there? Are you fool?
Yeah.
They are like, you're just gone case. I'm like, it's the truth.
It is really embarrassing.
Okay, I love this one. Journalists are becoming influencers.
Yeah. Fact. You have to.
You are becoming one now.
I'm trying my hardest.
No, but I'm pretty. You just started making content, but I'm pretty sure you will go viral.
Thanks, man.
There is a thing in India. I'm pretty sure you're good at whatever you're doing, but there is a thing here. Any white person who tries to do something here, they will get the attention.
It exists.
Okay.
It
It's just
exists
a
in
thing.
world white privilege.
Of course.
It does.
Of course.
But in India, it's more.
It's more. Yeah. In
It's
Asia.
something I've never experienced in my life.
In Asia.
I've never known white privilege like being here at all.
Yeah.
Actually,
You should go to Singapore.
Really.
Yeah. White privilege exists over there. They're
Okay.
crazy about the white man.
I don't understand it because we were so wrong in what we did.
it doesn't
Yet there's
matter.
this like privilege that we get.
That's why you are the richest one.
It's crazy. It should be the other way around. We should be vilified. We should. People should meet me and be like, "What you did to us? I don't want to know you." But it's the opposite. I would never understand that. If anyone does know why, please let me know. I'm searching for answers.
This is the world we live in. Like, we like the toxic relationships, So like these things attract you more to the other person.
Maybe, but we still hate the
It's
Germans.
a syndrome.
We hate the Germans. If we play Germany in sport,
Yeah.
there is still like a level of
Yeah.
we were against you, and like German people are welcome everywhere. Like German people are lovely.
So
We forgive and forget, bro.
Forgive and forget, but that rivalry is still
So
there.
is it like when UK and Germany play maybe football? It's like
Yeah.
bad stadium.
Yeah, we have songs which are not good at all, which reference the war,
Okay.
and like that part of it's lad culture and part of it's alcohol, which is
Yeah.
feeding that. But there is
And-
still a rivalry.
And trust me, I haven't been there, but if you're gonna be at the stadium, I have heard stories post-match. There are fights breaking down.
Don't even
Yeah,
get
there
me
are bottles
started.
inside thighs of a
Crazy.
person.
Even before starting the match, like
Yeah.
the whole crowd when starts walking the street, it's like crazy.
Crazy. Yeah, you don't want to be there.
No,
Yeah.
no.
At least on the losing side.
Well, yeah, especially when the beers are flowing. And I think a lot of that is more like the firm culture, and it's a small minority that then expands out. But in European football, some of that stuff's crazy. There are stories of like British and English football fans going to Turkey, going to Italy, even players being hit by police officers
Yeah.
and stuff like.
Why isn't
It's lawless.
England winning
It's-
the FIFA World Cup?
Because we're not good enough. We're not good enough. No, we aren't. We've not been run properly. We've not had the players at the right time. Because the Premier League is so divided.
Yeah.
The teams hate each other. It's a bit better now. But when we had the golden generation, every country's had a golden
Yeah.
generation always.
Back
but
when you had David Beckham.
that whole team, some of the best players in the world,
Yeah.
they hated each other. They wouldn't even sit on a table next to each other because in the league format, they would want to kill each other on the pitch. Like they had that hunger.
Isn't that the beauty of a sport?
That's why I love it.
Yeah.
Yes. I love sport for the competition and the hunger.
Yeah.
That's the only reason.
I only know the names of football players from that era only. Wayne Rooney.
Yeah.
And all those names. Yeah. Because I have played FIFA 07 the most. So I know that squad the most.
Yeah. Is that the one with Ronaldinho on the front?
I don't remember, to be honest.
Some of the old FIFAs were great.
Yeah.
Like, great memories.
I used to play FIFA 07 like all night. So there was this software Team Viewer, or I don't know, there was. So it was like I used to live in a society.
Mm-hmm.
So I had like all the friends and we used to make a server and everyone can join it. So it was so much fun. So we used to like play football in the evening physically and then in the night in the game. It's
Sick.
like...
that was early to the wave because FIFA didn't go like online multiplayer. You hacked that system. That's sick.
So we had our own VR
Mm-hmm.
earlier in 2007 only. We had
Really?
a virtual reality.
VR at 2007?
Like you are explaining the
Yeah.
football part.
Yeah. That was our VR. The real VR. The augmented reality.
So my delivery was pretty great then.
Yeah.
I got both of you.
Okay, let's continue this. If it's not viral, it's not newsworthy.
No, that's not true. Anything is news. One person dying is news. This has happened recently because of the Myanmar earthquake. We were late to covering it, and our editor-in-chief sat us down for ages and spoke to us and said, just because it's in Myanmar, if one person you know's family member died because of a natural disaster, that would be news to you.
Yeah.
There is, of course, a threshold. And there, like we were speaking about Sudan and stuff, like there is a general level of like, there has to be a certain amount, but there shouldn't be. And you have local news as well. So in local news, anything can be a story. Someone could have a statue stolen, and that's news. It comes back to audience, I think, and how big that audience is.
Mm-hmm. Fake news spreads faster than real news.
Fact. Just because of the platform it's on.
Yeah.
Mostly.
Because of the algo.
Yeah.
It supports that more. Journalism today is more about storytelling than truth.
Can you repeat that? Sorry.
Journalism today is more about storytelling than truth.
Yeah, fact. If you can engage someone in the format that you're presenting it, doesn't matter what you're saying. Ultimately, that's doing better than something which is going out that's telling the truth that no one's listening to.
Cancel culture is controlling what journalists can and cannot say.
No.
Are you sure about this?
I'm certain.
It's just been 6 months you have been in Delhi.
Yeah, no, but I've been maybe here it's different. Yeah, maybe I'll give you guys a call after my career's in the bin. Can you please have me back on? I've got nothing left.
Or delete that part.
Yeah. This is currently me being cancelled. Little do we know. No, I don't think it is. I think freedom of expression globally means that you can say what you want. I think there might be examples. If you're covering something like Diddy, I'm not going to get into it. but let's say, or Jeffrey Epstein, for example. I think there are potentials there that you're looking at something which is way above anyone's power, anyone's pay grade. But just stay away from them. Report on what everyone else is reporting on. Otherwise, all is good.
Headlines matter more than the actual story.
Now, fact. Because no one's reading the article.
So that's your clickbait.
That's your clickbait. There are some great news organisations. My girlfriend showed me one, which is like, is it something like 50 words? The whole story summed up in. And that's great.
In shorts.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And like that as a concept is amazing.
Yeah.
Because people who want to know have the opportunity to go out there and find the news, but it's just in a much more accessible way.
That's the only news app I use. News app.
Yeah.
In shorts.
And that's you choosing to take an extra step because you're actually going and physically reading something.
Yeah.
Most of the news people get now is just on their feed because their algorithm gives it to them.
Yeah.
My source of news is X only.
Okay.
I don't consume news like video wise, YouTube wise, nothing. It's happened from past 1.5 years.
Okay, I'm interested. Are you following these accounts or is this stuff just given to you?
It's the algorithm. It's just being thrown on me.
Yeah.
I don't press follow to any news anchor.
Okay.
I just follow one of this Palki Sharma first post.
Do you know
Yeah, I
about her,
follow.
Palki Sharma? She's like one of the good names in India.
The
for
global
journalists.
Indian presenter of news for me.
Got
Yeah.
you.
You
Okay.
might have seen her on TV or
Yeah.
some Instagram. You just know not her name, maybe.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'll definitely have a look. I need to learn more about news.
There's a
India.
good Instagram coverage of Faye D'Souza, if I'm pronouncing her name
Okay.
right. Faye D'Souza. She's a woman.
So are you looking at individuals as opposed to organisations when you're getting that news?
Now I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, that scares me more, because when you have just individuals, they can choose to put whatever
Yeah,
they want out.
I do.
That's the fear, because at least within an organisation, you've got levels and tiers of that organisation that are checking stuff.
But I get that part, but they got me influenced by showing the right content. I'm pretty sure I'm smart for itself that I believe that it's the truth.
But they're only relying on the article they're reading and repurposing.
No. So basically, it can be like if you start putting content on your personal channel. So now I know you, I trust you. So I will take news from your personal Instagram.
What I'm trying to get to is taking away from the individual. If somebody's a one-man team, then don't have a reporter on the ground. So they're relying on a separate news organisation.
I get that.
And all they're doing is they might be looking at loads of different news websites, but they're not gathering anything themselves. They're not using anything to challenge what they're being told. And there is bias.
Yeah.
So that's where it's a concern. That's why, like, BBC, Al Jazeera, Reuters, AFP, these might be some of these names you've never heard of before. They have people on the ground.
But again, it's like because there is a company, there are so many systems. It is a pro, but then it has disadvantages as well. Because now it's an organization, so now it has monetary purposes. So now you can make them narrate a different. So do you get it?
I got you. So the way Reuters, AFP work is they just give the information. So they'll just give the visuals. They'll just give you the comments. So a lot of it will be interviews of world leaders, or it will be a ground account of something that's happened and visuals of that ground account. It's then the job of us as news organisations to decipher and use what we want to then create that narrative. The issue that you've got with an individual creator is they probably don't have the time to do that. If they're looking at creating engaging content, they're probably having to make 2-3 videos a day.
Yeah.
At that point, this is the sad reality of the future of news. They're probably getting an article, copy and pasting it, putting it into ChatGPT, and it's creating a script for them. You're then relying on ChatGPT and the AI to be right. You're then also relying on the original article to be right. That's my concern. I don't think the intention is I want to spread false news, false narratives. But if there's no checks and balances, it's something I struggle with the team a lot.
Then I think the solution for this is only you have people on the ground and they cover whatever is happening there and you just present that.
Yeah.
Like that's the only transparent thing you can do.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you don't take the original source, then you just have to trust and believe again.
Of course. And that's half of the battle that we fight, right? It's accrediting things to whoever's given it, because then at least we're providing you that insight. If you're going to listen plainly to it, at least we're saying this is allegedly reported by X. So for example, with the Israeli strikes in Gaza, every time we run something, this is the death toll. Reportedly, this many people have been killed, according to the Gazan Run Health Ministry. That's one, us covering our back, but also letting you know that this information isn't being sort of guaranteed and approved by anyone. I have lots of fights with my team over this when it's not done, because ultimately, if we say something and we don't accredit it to the original source, we are then saying that either as our opinion or we're saying that it's fact. And then if we can't prove that because we're based in Delhi and we don't have a bureau in Rafah in Gaza, which has just been bombed and 15 aid workers have reportedly been killed, who are we to say that? That's my fear of this one-man band sort of news organisation stuff, because are those checks in place?
That's where I guess world is moving towards now. Being a content creator, you have so much power. You have so much. I guess they must be having the right sources too.
Yeah,
which they inform. They've.
Well, their sources will be websites, because they won't have those connections.
You can't be sure of it. I mean they can be people on the ground too. The credibility comes from, I guess, the authenticity. They might be providing the right data from past 5 years. That's why they are the most famous ones right now.
Yeah.
So
Agreed.
yeah. So
What's more important sorry to interrupt you again. What's more important in that instance though? Is it entertainment or facts?
to me it's fact, but to majority you know the answer.
Yeah.
Entertainment.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not gonna talk on their behalf.
Yeah.
But to me, it's totally about the facts. And I don't look into, other articles that whether this is true or not. I
Yeah.
just try to convince myself that this person is good enough to have my follow.
Yeah. But you're a rarity, right? You're such a rarity in people in the world because you want to know the truth. Some people don't care.
Because I don't follow news much, but when I do, I make sure that I follow the good one.
Yeah.
That's true. That's
Have
being honest.
you followed him yet?
No, I haven't. I'll do right now.
He's not even putting news content. You're putting
I wouldn't put news up. I wouldn't put news up.
No, but after talking to you like this, I know you will never, because you're already questioning the news you are putting out on the news channel because you want the source and to be like so authentic and real that the information can't be wrong at all. So
I'm also the one saying it. I'm a news anchor.
Yeah.
So if I'm relying on my team to write the stuff for me, that's the biggest gripes I have, is because ultimately they're behind a desk, and the person who's saying it is me. So it's my opinion, whether people realise that or not. The way I look at it is whatever's coming out of my mouth and somebody's watching it, they're thinking that is my opinion. If I'm making a claim without backing it up, it's me saying it. It's not us as an organisation. Yeah. And that's why I'm so conscious of it, which is probably unhealthy. Like, I shouldn't be this. It's my job. It's my life. Yeah. But it is unhealthy.
You're just being pain in the ass for the company.
Yeah. Well, as the company, that's what we want to do. But we have a young team, so it's trying to put that across as an understanding.
I guess every profession goes through that clash. I mean, if you're gonna talk about the Faye D'Souza, if you're gonna talk to her about this, she's gonna be having some valid points with your organization that you make story go through such, phases. Like, how do you think it's not being miscommunicated now? How do you think it's the, most natural source that is coming to you? Mm-hmm. On the other hand, I am the only person who's going to decide what to put and what to not. And I cover news more earlier than you. Like you mentioned the Myanmar thing.
Yeah. I'm talking like we were half an hour late.
Yeah, so half an hour. But she might have been the single person, saw it and posted in the next 2 minutes. Yeah. Just through her Insta, LinkedIn or X. So there always going to be disadvantages and advantages.
And I think that's probably it's probably a better way of doing news. I think you will find like the BBC and other big organisations doing this style content more and more over the other stuff, because the audience is now shifting away from sitting in front of the television at 7:00 at night.
Yeah.
No one's doing that anymore. Not young people. The way you get things is you might be in the back of a cab and you've got 20 minutes and you just quick scroll.
Yeah.
Or you've just finished dinner and you're taking 5 minutes just having a look. Like, we don't have time now.
Which news source do you trust the most? Al Jazeera?
No. Reuters.
Spell it for me.
Reuters.
Got it.
That's probably wrong. RUE. One of the two.
I love that answer.
Yeah.
Because they are very inclined to finance content and all that.
They do everything, and they've got people on the ground, and they've got hubs where the news comes from. They're sometimes a bit slower to it, but they have this like unknown platform which is for new news organisations, which chunks everything up, and a lot of the stuff that Reuters will present you is just this press conference happened with this world leader. This is the backstory to what is going on. I'm not going to give you an opinion. I'm not going to tell you why. You're not going to get pieces in there which are opinion unless it's like a research project where somebody's gone and they're presenting that then as this is a report, as opposed to a factual information. ABC has happened. D's happened in the past. Now here's E.
Is it a British company, Reuters?
No.
Do you know where?
No, I'm not sure, but I probably US. But they are there. So every time you look at one of their articles, it will tell you the bureau that's written it. So if it's an Asia one, the bureau will be in Asia,
all right,
or in Washington, or in somewhere else.
So you trust the people on the ground the most for news, are you saying?
Completely. If you're basically getting visuals and you're getting official reports from government agencies, if you're accrediting that official report and saying, we don't know it's true, we don't know it's not true, but these are the people that said it, these are the visuals of what's happened, this is what's happened previously, you're not making an opinion, you're not presenting a preference to something. Israel-Gaza is the hardest one because the Israelis say, we don't have our hostages back. The Gazans are saying, we're civilians not affiliated to Hamas, and over 50,000 of us have been killed directly because of you. So at that point, both arguments have validity. At that point, all you're doing is presenting fact A, fact B, now you guys make the decision.
Mm-hmm.
And then at that point, I don't feel like that's real journalism. It's why as a news anchor, I don't feel like a on-the-ground journalist, because I'm not finding the news. I'm presenting the news that's been given to me and that we've accessed through other organisations.
You're more like a reporter, you would say?
So reporters are the people on the ground.
Okay.
So the reporters are the people that are doing the dirty work. I've done.
You're the
reporting.
anchor, sorry.
Yeah. So I have to know everything that's going on, and it's painful, to be honest. It's absorbing. So I'm off now. I'm going to go. I've got a little trip away. And I know I'm going to be able to somewhat switch off. I will still read the news for an hour or two per day on all the different websites and apps that I've got. But I don't have to constantly be thinking about it, because ultimately, if there's no checks and balances happening with the team, then we could be saying anything. So it's almost my job as an anchor to be that barrier to information that's wrong. So with stuff that's been written on AI, because we've got no time as a team, because something's just broken, that's a big battle that we have as well, utilising the technology that's there.
I love how seriously you take your work.
Mate, you've
and
got
it's
to.
so important in the work you're doing.
Yeah. Well, if I don't believe what I'm saying is the right thing, then I'm not doing my job.
I think 99% of the anchors or 90% anchors are just saying things for the sake of things. I don't think they're taking things as seriously as you are taking it.
I wonder if it's a British thing, because we will get fined if we say something wrong. So if we give out, there have been instances before where a news anchor has taken a side on something. I don't know if you heard of this guy, Dominic Cummings, who was basically Boris Johnson's right-hand man.
Okay.
He broke COVID restrictions, and this guy who broke them was basically the person who put them in. And there was this anchor called Emily Maitlis who called it out on live television, gave her opinion. She ultimately lost her job as a result for just saying this guy's made the rules and now he's not following them. So in Britain, if you make a claim and it turns out not to be true, or you defame someone and you can't prove that it's true, you'll be fined. There's up to 2 years in prison you can serve for being in contempt of court if you talk about a criminal case that is ongoing and it impacts the jury to the point where they might change their ruling on this criminal case.
Is it the same incidents when all these politicians of UK were partying or doing something around COVID time?
So the difference in that, the reason people broadcasted that is because the defence to defamation is the truth. If you're reporting on the truth and you're defaming somebody, you're telling the truth. There's also public interest defence. So if you can argue that this is in the public interest to the point where you are impacting somebody's public opinion, public perception, opportunity to work, then that's a way you can get out of it. And obviously the ruling party of the country, which has placed millions and millions, tens of millions of people into restrictions and telling them you can't leave your house unless you're going for a walk. For them to be having a party, there is public interest there. But when I learnt journalism, that's the mindset that I learnt it in. So now coming here, whether that isn't the case, that's still my mindset. And I think that's why I'm so anal with things. How often do you guys shoot?
Huh?
How often do you shoot?
It doesn't, it's very random.
It's just whenever you
so
can.
This week we had 3 shoots back to back. Some weeks we don't have any shoots at all. We're just doing it for fun.
Nice. Is your goal with this to really turn it into something which will be monetized and be your career?
Of course. So for me, I just want to do all the things work-wise, which doesn't feel like work.
Yeah.
That's my only goal for life. Whatever I'm doing, it just should not feel like work. And if I can monetize it, I'm done.
Yeah,
I've made it in life.
That's sweet. Because that was the reason I got into this, because I wanted to do that with sport.
Okay.
My goal was to be a sports journalist.
Okay.
Because I just wanted to get paid to talk about football and cricket and rugby. Like, that was my dream. So I find it interesting that that's the same with you, but this is just talking to people and finding out about people. Because that's the most interesting thing, right? Speaking to people about your own experiences and their experiences and entertaining people with that.
Plus,
Powerful.
what we have realized after doing podcast, like when you talk on podcast, like you're actually talking. Do you get it? Like all of our attention is like here, is literally nowhere. So like that's make the conversation very interesting for me and good. Otherwise, if like we met somewhere, like, we will have like a casual conversation, maybe a short talk.
Yeah.
But like with this, like the conversations go so deep. I love that.
100%. 100%. And it's almost, you're given that platform to be able to talk about something extensively. If you're at a bar, you think, oh, I want to have fun, I don't want to delve deep into a topic.
फिर आएगा ये चाबी देने. So this guy who came, he has a fucking like extreme OCD. He wants his car to be like at the right same spot, and I have parked at his spot. It's technically not his spot.
Okay.
He just claims it's his spot. So in Delhi, there is like most of the fights and road rage is because of traffic and car parking.
Parking, okay.
Yeah.
Parking. Yeah.
Really?
It's not an organized way of parking anywhere.
Right.
They should organize it.
Same with the roads. That was one of the big shocks that I had coming here. Like we have obviously definitive lanes, as you guys know.
And crossing the lane.
Yeah.
Imagine crossing the road. Oh man. Don't you feel like you're gonna die someday?
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
But what I do feel like is, especially if you're in like a more built up area and there's maybe only like a 1-lane road either way, cars are more likely to stop. If you step out in front of a car back home because they're travelling at 30 miles an hour, you're going to get hit.
Yeah.
Here, people are so used to like a scooter or an auto coming in front of the vehicle. They're ready on that brake super quick.
Do you like the Indian food?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
My stomach doesn't like it as much. I'm still
Is it?
learning.
What?
Yeah, I just like
We need to like tell him good places.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure he's having like not good food from like good
Why
places.
would you say that? He has colleagues, so they might be taking him to nice.
You know it.
My girlfriend obviously orders Indian food as well, so she has.
She vegetarian, non-vegetarian?
No, non-veg.
That's good then.
Non-veg, so we're eating lots of.
Are you missing beef?
Yeah.
I miss it so much.
Mate, you know the first thing I'm gonna do when I go back is order McDonald's.
No.
Cheeseburger.
You can get over here as well the pretty
No,
good
but
thing.
he wants it like the.
Yeah.
You can get a buff over here. And
Buff, I like buff. When I
It's-
first arrived, I didn't like it because it wasn't beef, and I knew it wasn't beef. Now it's been so long.
Where are you staying in Delhi?
East of Kailash.
It's very near to your home, Etchman. It's the guy's name is Herman.
Okay.
So he has kept the Etchman barbecue, and he serves the most amazing Phillies over there.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
He has asked me,
H-man.
he has said me to like go there at least 20 times, but we have not gone there yet.
100%.
So you order anything over there, it's a specialty.
H-man.
Yeah.
Sweet.
It's in Malviya Nagar. You'll get it.
Okay.
I'll share with you. And he serves the most amazing Philly sandwiches, the most amazing pork ribs. Pork ribs might run off stock very soon. Like he makes 20
They're
to
that
20.
popular.
Yeah.
Damn.
And it's very good.
Okay.
The steak is pretty good.
100%. That's dinner tonight. Thank you, mate.
And you should visit the bar Sidecar.
Yes, I've been.
You've
Really
been?
like Sidecar.
How is it?
Yeah, really
It's
nice.
very good.
Food there is nice too, but the cocktails are
His cocktails are
Top
top
tier,
notch.
yeah.
There's another one which is like people are saying it's better than Sidecar. I forgot the name, and they're saying it's cocktail. Daksh gaya tha recently. I will tell the name. I don't remember. But he's saying it's better than Sidecar
खुलते रहते
for
हैं.
cocktails.
There are new restaurants, new bars in Delhi every week. So you can't trust which one is the best. But I haven't been out since ages now.
Do you cook or do you just eat
yeah,
from
yeah.
outside?
I not really here. I do enjoy cooking, so whenever I can, I do.
Well,
But again, that's different, right? All the meat coming, like I ordered through Blinkit because I don't know what else to do. And
yeah,
it's all coming frozen, and then it's like it's different.
yeah. You can order chicken from Licious.
Delicious.
Delicious.
It's an app.
Okay.
They have good quality
I'm
meat.
not going to forget that 100%.
It's good quality
Okay.
meat, and they have like options of like how fresh do you want it.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
And will it come non-frozen or is it always delivered?
It's a
frozen?
non-frozen
Yeah,
thing.
how fresh. So like
Okay, got you.
yeah,
Got you. Okay. Yeah, that would be great.
and they deliver. As
So you can
well.
be as cruel as I want to kill a hen right now. Go kill it and get me.
Really? Oh, it is savage.
90
isn't it?
minutes.
It is savage. Yeah.
I'm
90 minutes
I'm
delivery.
so disappointed why someone has not already told him like these. I think these
Now
are
I
basic
get
things.
that. Why do you say that he's not going to nice places?
I know, but people don't know like good
I
places.
somewhat try to, take me towards the more humanitarian thing that I believe in people now. You have shown me in the mirror that I don't believe in people much. So I try to figure out that they must be doing something good to them.
The thing is, most of the people doesn't have good taste, so they don't themselves know where to. Take
This is the problem with
guest.
India. They don't fucking care about their image. They diss India in staying in India only. They don't care about their respect. They should be showing you the amazing places of Delhi. You weren't able to get, the buff for the longest time. I would have taken you to 5 places. I would have searched, where do you get the best buff? I would have asked H-Men that where can I get more? But they don't want to be, felt like a superior power over it. That we know the food. We'll let you know. What do you want?
It's so funny. So any restaurant or cafe I go to, so I'm always like, surprise me. Whatever, like, what's your best seller? Just give me that. And every time the guy is like, everything is best. You can order anything.
That's the cue. Don't
That's
order
also
anything.
dangerous though, because I spent times when I was younger working in kitchens, and sometimes the serving staff are told like, today we're pushing this because it's going out of date.
Oh.
So in that instance, you're getting like the meat or the fish that's getting chucked out at the end of the day. So
Yeah.
gotta be careful with it.
How did you grow up in kitchens? What were you doing?
So basically, I went to school, like secondary school, sixth form. I did a year of it. Wasn't for me, left, and I should have stayed in education, but I slipped through the cracks and just started working. So I worked in like a very small like restaurant / takeaway style place, and started front of house and then worked my way up. Alongside doing that, I was then doing some estate agency. I've done loads of stuff, and then I was working both places part-time, then did a music production course because I realised I needed that next level of education before university.
You have done music production.
Yeah. So I did it it was a 2-year course. I did that like 18 to 20.
Do you use which software?
We were using Logic.
Logic Pro. Nice.
But again, it's something that I was just doing for the fun of it. So I played instruments as a kid, but never really put any effort into it. So it was an easy course. It was like a 3-day-a-week course. Bit of a joke, to be honest. Like you just got your bit of paper if you went and you like listened. That's pretty much all you needed to do.
You didn't go to uni?
I did go to uni, yeah. So after finishing the course, I then did more work, and then
Which uni you were in?
so I went to the UEA, the University of East Anglia, which was why I was in Norfolk.
Okay.
And the only reason I went was because we bought a house in the region, and it was a course that was doing journalism. I applied to one uni, got in. I didn't do the whole like UCAS or just general like apply to 5 unis and pick the best option. One course, one place, but it all worked out.
And Norwich is like, it's like all white people there, because my friend, she was brown, and she was like, I am the only brown person in the entire town.
Yeah, it is. It really is. Norfolk especially, like it's a lot of older white people.
Yeah.
Lots of farmers. Like there's not a lot of diversity, unlike Cambridge, which is hugely diverse. My school had 27 different nationalities. It's something they celebrated. My secondary school, partly because it was the one that had the most capacity, so anyone who migrated over. But yeah, you get so many tourists and stuff in Cambridge. It really is multicultural. So,
I guess diversity makes you the supreme power. In India, we lack that. In India, we lack that. You don't see any, white in school.
Why would they come? So I have
Yeah, that's the question too.
I have a friend, and she was planning to come to India, and we were so excited. I was planning we'll go here, there, and then she cancelled, and she was like, "Why should I come here? It's 400 AQI." I was like, "I'm not even gonna like convince you to come here. It makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
you're on a holiday, why would you come here?
But that's what I want to do with these videos. I want to show people that side of
Yeah.
India. And I've had lots of conversations with my girlfriend about it. She's like, we had a debate with my English colleague who works with me in the same job. He was like, thinking of it as a journalist, being like, you've got to point out these problems. And there are problems everywhere. It's just you get used to the problems because you've grown up around them.
Yeah.
There are issues in London that if you're going to London for the first time, you're like, well, that's not right.
Stab you on the
Stabbing,
face.
homelessness is a huge problem. There are loads of issues. Like, I don't want to go into all of them, not because I don't want to point them out, just because there's so many.
But the thing is, the Western media is so smart. They hide it so nicely. I had no fucking clue there was such a big problem of stabbing in London before living there. Like,
Yeah.
I had no fucking clue. But like, stabbing there is like so common, so common. Like, I was always on the edge that I can get stabbed if
It's
I
scary.
come
Walking
Yeah.
around
And
London is scary.
So then how the fuck is Delhi scary? I'm never scared for my life. I'm maybe scared
100%.
if I go to some wrong place at wrong time, I might get robbed, not get killed. But in there, I was scared. They fucking stab you on your face.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
For a phone, for a mobile phone.
I was staying in Grosvenor House,
Okay.
Holborn Station, near Covent Garden was very
Yeah.
near to my Holborn Station. So I was planning to buy a new SIM card.
Yeah.
And someone told me that SIM card in Holborn, like a mobile, it's like £7 or £8. You're gonna walk down that street, go left and everything, you're gonna get it for £3. And my security guard was Indian and he told me, don't go over there.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? You might lose your phone, brother.
Yeah, 100%.
just stay okay paying that £8 over here.
It
I'm
is-
like, I
it's
got
so
it.
sketchy. So sketchy in London. But yeah, like there is a massive side of India that needs to be shown.
Yeah.
There is, I think a lot of it is a barrier to entry as well. Like, being in the job I am in, I'm lucky enough that I'm paid like an English salary converted into rupees.
That's the most fun part of the job I can think.
Which is amazing. And like the things I'm able to see for Western people who are also earning Western salaries, I don't know why India isn't a long haul like holiday option.
Plus, you are getting the luxuries over here.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And like that perspective, the thing with the bars that we were talking about, like the sidecars and the lairs and the other really nice food and drink
Yeah.
spots, they're priced at a point where that is the barrier to entry. You have to be on a certain income to be able to justify that as your sort of standard of living. But for Western people on the incomes that we get as minimum wages, if you have the ability to save, there's so much stuff to do.
Yeah,
there.
true. Literally last night I saw this one white guy. He was traveling in India with like a backpacker, right? And he was just ranting about India, like how bad it is. I'm fucking leaving this country and everything. And then I was reading the comments, and then there was this one guy. He commented, "These fucking." Basically poor people of Europe come as a backpacker and then travel to poor places of India and then shows that.
100%. 100%.
So when you say like the barrier of entry with the money, it makes sense.
Yeah. And that's just like it's just the difference in cost of living. And the problem with the UK, I would argue, me earning the equivalent salary that I'm earning in the UK, I wouldn't be able to live in London on the salary that I'm earning here converted
Yeah.
to GBP, because it wouldn't be enough. But comparatively, the cost of living here, if you're doing
Yes, it's,
a good job, like a decent job on a decent salary, but we're not talking like extremely rich, your quality of life will be better, because if you're living in London, you need to have one of those 60, 70k GBP jobs to have a comfortable life where you can go out and do what you want.
I don't
because
think
things are so
even
expensive.
then you will be comfortable in 60,
No.
70 in London.
Yeah. You'd probably have to be living with 5 of your mates
Yeah,
in a house
exactly.
where you converted the living room into a bedroom, you know, like
That's necessity, bro.
Yeah.
That's a necessity.
Yeah,
No
yeah.
luxuries over there.
No.
Yeah, true.
But,
What's the? I mean, I get this part. Is there any more of a bigger misconception that you thought about India and that got jolted down when you came here?
I think just like cultural things, cultural stereotypes, a huge one. The way that India is presented, even in like American TV shows, like British TV shows. We have a huge like second, third generation Indian population in the UK. Until recently, there was still, by recently I mean sort of 20 years or so, there were still stereotypes being presented on TV programs, racist stereotypes that now would not be accepted. But because they've been there for 2-3 generations,
it has been normalized.
It's been normalized in a way, and coming here and realizing that it's all bollocks, I think, is the biggest thing. Like the preconceived ideas that people have of India just aren't true. There are issues, like the level of rubbish is an issue. Like the fact that there aren't, like in the UK, as you guys know, like the regimentation of bin collection at the moment in Birmingham. There's like there's a emergency in Birmingham because the bin workers have been on strike.
Yeah.
Right, and the ecosystem here is different, but there obviously is a problem then. But then there aren't issues which there are in the UK. So it's just about the problems exist everywhere. It's about managing those problems and understanding that just because something isn't a problem back home, you will have a problem which isn't one here. People here. Again, that might be white privilege because I'm a white guy who has an English accent, and I open my mouth and people turn around and go, "Fucking hell, look at you." But people here are so much more welcoming and so much more willing to have a conversation with you. If you're in London, people are head down, concentrating on their own bullshit, don't want to know.
But that's like, I think, a British cultural thing.
Completely.
I wanted to talk about this because I have traveled to few countries. So basically now I regret why did I do my masters from the UK and not go to some other country. Why? Because over there I never felt accepted.
Okay.
In terms of, there were few incidents where there was like racism on my face, someone said it, but that's fine. But all the time I could feel the racism, but it was like subtle. No one would say to your face, but you could just feel it.
Yeah.
You would be treated differently. But when I went to US or some other European maybe country, I didn't felt like that. I don't know. I think it's just a cultural thing. It's the British culture is like that.
Yeah, I think so. I think a part of like culture in the UK, like especially if you're with your friends, you take the mick out your friends. You joke about your friends. You put them down. It's like that's the way some of our humor is. But if you're doing that with someone you don't know, what you mean is the inherent racism.
That I would like.
Yeah.
That I would like if they're doing that.
Okay. Are you talking about like inherent racism that is ultimately these people have been taught to be racist?
So it is like, I have heard even a few incidents. They would change their name to English name if someone is like have a Muslim name.
Yeah.
Because they would not get to the second round because just on the CV they saw the name and he's already rejected.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
like,
that makes sense. There is a huge part of the UK which is still inherently racist. 100%.
Is it like the up north? Around Liverpool?
I think it's still everywhere. I do think. Obviously, you've got places like Bradford, which have larger populations of South Asians. So I actually did a documentary on...
Bradford?
No.
It would be so much fun. I would watch.
No, so I did a documentary on the participation of South Asians in football. Because it's huge. There are so many South Asian like kids growing up in the UK who are second, third generation South Asian people who were born in the UK, but they don't get those opportunities, and you don't see.
Just realized there is none in the team.
No, so we used to have a South Asian footballer, Hamza Chowdhury, who's just decided to play football for Bangladesh. He was with Leicester when they were in the Premier League, but he was the only one. And I was asking why, because there are so many people that do play it. But there is this still inherent racism around these communities. And I didn't feel it growing up massively, because I grew up in Cambridge, which is a really nice place.
Did you had any brown friends growing up?
Yeah, 100%. 100%, of course. Like, it is multicultural, very multicultural in Cambridge, but that's not the case everywhere. And it's integrated. Areas up north, there's still a divide, and then all that does is breeds that hatred. You've got people who you'll have a massive community which is predominantly South Asian people or African American or any sort of different race. if they're all put in one community or they all live in one community, and then there's a predominantly white community within a close proximity, it comes back to the war thing. Like you're breeding that divide. Once it's integrated, it changes.
Yeah, because London is good with this stuff. Other cities have struggling in the UK. If we
completely.
talk about racism,
I talked to this guy in New York. He was a valet parking guy, and I was standing on down the lines. My brother was having some, issue with his apartment, locking the apartment, and I was down talking with him, and I was like, "Is New York racist to us?" Because I didn't feel anything. He's like, "You Indian, bro," and he was a black guy. So I'm like, "Are they racist to you?" I don't feel that in New York, but if you go to Pennsylvania, I'll say yes. But I'm like, what do you think the reason behind, Indians being looked upon as we are? And he said that beautifully, that you guys aren't doing enough job to make yourself civilized. And I was like, yeah. Because the minute I feel the Indian guy is good with me, he's a good friend of mine, I make the perception of a person as he's the best friend of mine. He does something which is uncivilized. And I was like, what do you mean by that? Like, in UK, I saw it for myself, brushing their teeth in open balconies. These are the small things. I might have done something uncivilized undeliberately in a tube, because that's my culture. I was raised in Delhi.
Yeah.
I might have done something, but that doesn't come to us naturally, being civilized.
Okay.
And we are not paying any attention to it.
No.
If we're gonna pay any attention to it, we might sort out those 5 to 10% who are just being racist to us for being uncivilized. I'm not talking about the whole generation. Those who have thought and inherently are racist, I'm not trying to change their mind. But if you want the narrative,
subconscious racism.
you want the narrative to change about the Indians, you have to make that effort.
Yeah.
You have to trust, you have to open that door for a woman, you have to keep that mall door open for the public coming behind you. You have to give some space to the person who's standing behind you or beyond you in a tube station. We have the habit of, sticking to your ass.
Got you. Is that just because it's so populated?
Yeah.
And it's like the roads as well. The roads are
No,
similar.
man, it's not about being the population. I'm sorry to the viewers, I've told this earlier as well. I was standing in a 500 square yard of a bank, and there were just 2 guys in the line, and this guy was behind me on my ass poking his penis.
Got you. Yeah, queuing is something that doesn't exist here.
I'm like, and I asked him, why the fuck are you getting stuck to me? It's such a big bank. Why are you here? He's like,
Yeah. It's just that it's the rush though. I notice when you're queuing for something, people cutting in front of you, it's just everything has to happen now.
Yeah.
Got to be done now. Got to be done quickly.
Yeah.
Same with the driving. It's
I
like
feel bad.
any gap, it's just in you get.
And these small things matter so much. So in tube in London, if you're using escalator, if you're standing, you just have to stand on the right, so people can
walk.
It's as small as this. How are you gonna make people understand this here?
Yeah, these small things somewhat make it difficult for us, and I believe that it's gonna be sorted with the current generation. But then I'm just hopeful.
No, I don't.
I'm just hopeful.
I don't think so. I gave you example of people my age. They are being brought up by those same generations, so they are also like that.
Didn't you feel the problem of people spitting those tobacco on the streets?
Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't that uncivilized?
It is.
Why would you do that?
Yeah.
Why would you do that?
No, I get it.
Yeah.
I do get it.
So imagine you doing this kind of stuff in UK.
Yeah.
Why would you do that? I would like
do
you to change.
know, I will tell you. So there is a whole fucking whole video about this. It's happening. It happened in Southall in London, and they literally, you know what they did? The government, they put up like poster on the ground, don't spit here, and people says, Indian, they're spitting on it.
Yeah. So that's
Is it repercussions though? Because there was a big drive in the UK to stop spitting chewing gum out. Because in essence, it can't be biodegraded. It will get stuck on the path, and then it costs these local authorities money to get somebody to sit there and scrape it off because it's really difficult. And then there were loads of things saying if you caught spitting chewing gum on the ground, it's an £80 fine.
Yeah.
Then that psychological aspect of it, even if you know when police officers watching you think, oh, I won't, then it becomes a habit for you to just chuck it in the bin. And there are loads of bins. That's one thing that I haven't noticed here. If I've drank a bottle of water or something, like there's nowhere to put it, so I end up like putting rubbish in my bag, and I'm walking around with rubbish in my bag.
Yeah.
There's probably some in there now, just because there's nowhere to put it. And then you understand why there is rubbish being chucked on the floor.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to get some chai or something, or you got some crisps or like
but you know what like breaks my heart, when someone who have money, who is educated, and then someone like that is doing stupid activity like this, that like breaks my heart. You can see in Delhi he must be driving like a X5 Merc, and they're just throwing things out of the car.
Yeah.
I'm like, you should not own that car.
No, it's true. I think one thing in the UK that happens with that is like if I was to chuck some rubbish on the floor, my mates would be like, what are you doing? Pick it up. Yeah. There is almost that like that peer pressure in a positive way.
Yeah.
Which is like, we're ruining our planet.
So
like just chucking some rubbish.
That's a good peer pressure. So we over there don't end up spitting or throwing anything over there.
And that's the other thing, yeah. So all us Indians keep complaining about all these things going in here, but as soon as we go to some new country, they are all civilized now. Most of them, not all of them, but most of them are now civilized. So they are now not being civilized in India because no one else is following it.
Got you.
And government
Plus it's like so my friend was driving and he had a high beam on the headlight, right? I said to him like, put it down, and he was like, everyone has high beam on, like if I don't do it, I am the stupid one. I don't have any answer to this.
And you know, the government can put on the regulations, but monitoring is very tough. You can't monitor such things.
With such densely populated
areas. You have
areas
to inculcate this into your culture. You have to know, you have to, educate everyone that it's going to be a problem soon. It's going to be problem for you. Just like the driving stuff, how we drive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know, sorry to...
Uh-huh.
The Japanese in one of the Olympics, they picked up litter and everything. A lot of news also covered it.
Yeah, the Tokyo Olympics.
Yeah.
On the other hand, they are very soft. They are two softies.
Yes, like even South Korea do it really well.
Yeah.
I saw like a YouTube short or something. Like kids will walk to school on their own at like 5 and 6. There are lots of supermarkets that aren't staffed. It's just like accepted that you go in, you pick it up, you pay. Theft isn't really an issue. That's a different cultural thing. In the UK, that would never happen.
Never happen.
Never ever, because you get little shit bags just going in and stealing everything.
You just mentioned you can. I completely forgot when you were mentioning what happened after Brexit in UK. What was the situation like? Because we didn't get to know. I didn't get to know.
We sort of got COVID pretty soon. So it took some time. It took some time before it was actually enacted. And then there was the big thing of us leaving. Ultimately, it was probably the wrong decision. Democratically, we voted for it, so we had to. But it caused a lot of divide. Like, it was pretty much in a 50-50 split.
It's a chaotic place.
Just like families arguing. Like, I remember I had a birthday and it turned into an argument. Like, I had like members of my family who were either side of it. But I think it was the wrong decision. Though now, looking at Trump's tariffs, which he's introduced, because we're an individual state making these trade deals, we'll be able to make our own deal, and we won't need to rely on all
EU
20 plus members of the EU bloc to make that deal. So who knows? But it was a mistake. I think it was a mistake. And the economy
and
suffered.
This Rwanda asylum came. How is it going?
Oh,
is it happening?
It's been
cancelled.
Yeah,
After paying so much to Rwanda,
yeah,
it's been cancelled now.
It was a conservative initiative. Basically, their concept was if you create a deterrent, then you're going to stop people wanting to do something. Because at that point, there was no repercussions for people other than the fact that you might have died crossing on a cheap inflatable dinghy that was 5 times over the weight limit. if you made it into the UK, you weren't really facing anything because the system of dealing with migrants was so backlogged that it might have taken a year or two. There were thousands, tens of thousands of migrants who had arrived in the UK and people didn't know where they were. Government officials didn't know where they were, but they knew they were in there, just not where. And then you can pick up job cash in hand and you're in the system. But the Rwanda plan itself was, in essence, it was like, let's create something that's going to stop people wanting to come over rather than having to address the problem. But no flights ever took place. It was just a big waste.
As soon as it came, I kind of thought it as a foolish thing.
Yeah.
Like a common man like me who doesn't know any shit about politics. And I was like, this is the
Hundreds
most
of millions.
This is the most foolish thing I ever heard.
Yeah.
And I didn't think it for long enough. Then I saw it 6 months back that it's still in motion.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It has been stopped now. So the new Labour government have just said
You're aware of what it is? It's a Rwanda asylum. So whoever enters UK, the UK is gonna pay money to Rwanda to take these immigrants and keep it in Rwanda, and they're gonna build some places over there in Rwanda.
And the UK was still paying for these people.
And UK paid close to, I guess, 100 million to Rwanda, and now they are cancelling it. So Rwanda's like, we have developed the asylums and everything, we are not paying you back. And they have cancelled it, you can't do this. Imagine Afghanistani wants to come to UK but ends up being in Rwanda.
Yeah.
What is it to him? Worse than Afghanistan.
It's ridiculous. It's crazy.
I'm like, why would he go to Rwanda now? At least send him to, South Africa or Africa.
Yeah.
Why Rwanda?
So stupid.
We have to take the economy of Rwanda up as well. So we have to take everyone together up there.
But to be fair, the Conservatives were struggling at this point.
Conservatives are gone round. Now there is a Labour Party,
now
right?
it's Labour. But
what led to the fall of Rishi Sunak?
Rishi Sunak wasn't the reason. I think fundamentally the Conservative Party had lost the trust of the people. And a lot of people just didn't want to vote for the Conservatives. You had Boris Johnson, who went through COVID, and then there was all the lying. People completely lost trust in him. He then had to resign. You then had Liz Truss, who introduced a budget which basically was going to drop taxes.
She had no clue what she was doing.
No, she didn't, and she basically in one.
She was a scapegoat, I guess.
No, Rishi Sunak was the scapegoat because she was the one who actually jolted the market to the point where everyone's mortgages went up from 2% to 5-6%, and you're talking about hundreds of GBP per month for the same thing just because of her decision.
Being Indian, I want to know, was Rishi Sunak liked as a leader or hated?
When he was Chancellor, when he was in charge of the money in the UK, he was liked because he introduced schemes like furlough, like Eat Out to Help Out, which basically meant that everything was half price if you went out to restaurants, to try and boost these economies, these leisure businesses which had lost so much money and were almost about to close down. You could argue that he did it too early, and it probably meant that we went into another lockdown because loads of people got COVID again. And
I remember all this going on. I was there when it was all happening.
But he kept the price of pints down. He dropped duties on beer, so you could go to a pub and drink more. He was popular at that point because he's targeting everyone. But ultimately, he couldn't have won, I don't think, in that position. Again, the economy was screwed because of Liz Truss and because of the COVID pandemic.
So wrong timing, you would say.
Completely wrong timing.
As long as the beer is cheap, all the Englishmen are happy. That's all they want.
It's true.
It's fucking amazing. I used to go from Canary Wharf, and they're all corporate buildings out there, and it's fucking 12 p.m. or 1 p.m. and everyone is downstairs having beer. I'm like, what the fuck?
I got to know the concept of lunch beer.
Yeah.
When I went to UK, right?
Yeah.
It's written lunch beer over there, and my friend was like, "What is lunch beer?" I'm like, "To have it during lunch." Lunch my beer.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Let's have it.
Just a swift beer.
I think it's
before a lecture or before a work meeting. Why not?
It's like a thing in Europe or a lot of countries where you are supposed to have a drink with food. In India, there is no such concept.
No,
It's
you
just
have to
food.
have sweet lime.
Over there, like they always ask you as well, even when you order food, don't you want any drink?
Yeah.
They're not even trying to upsell. They're just asking
We
you.
have sweet lime soda for acidity. We have so much masalas.
Yeah.
You're gonna be dead. Your ass is on fire every
Yeah.
time. At least to a white person, I can say that. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Constantly.
Even our ass, like
No, we get used to
Come
it.
on, you can't fucking handle spice. You don't say it.
Yeah,
I bring
don't
my
eat-
food from home and he's
Yeah.
like spicy.
Damn.
But my ass thanks it. It doesn't mind.
The thing with Indian food is it has to be prepared in a very perfect way, because if the spices is meant for flavor, not to spice it. So you just have to know the right amount.
Yeah.
If it's spicy, then it is no, I don't consider it very good. Like it has to be like less spicy and more flavorful.
Completely.
Then it becomes the.
You guys use chili powder as like a salt or pepper seasoning,
Yeah.
don't you? Because my girlfriend will cook and she's like, it's not spicy, it's not got any chili in it. And then I eat it and I was like, how can you say this hasn't got chili in it? My lips are about to fall off. And she's like, it's just got chili powder, that's not chili. But to
I
us,
like how UK has stole us from being a producer of, inventor of chicken tikka masala.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah,
They
it's
think
our-
that
it's our
they
national
invented
dish.
it.
It's our
And
national dish.
Yeah, someone told me, I didn't believe them. I was like, no way. He was like, Google it, and then I believed it.
Yeah.
And I was
Even like Chinese food, right? We have our own form of Chinese takeaway.
Here
I
too.
love it.
Same.
I can't get it here. I can't.
No,
I'm
we have
trying,
like
I'm
Indian
trying.
Indian
Chinese.
Chinese. We
Yeah,
have
yeah.
Indian Chinese.
But what you have here, which I find really interesting, is you'll have a restaurant that does like 5 or 6 different cuisines. That's just not something that we have.
It's very normal here.
Yeah, it's really weird. Like one person could be having pasta, one person can be having like Indian food, one person can be having Asian food, like Southeast Asian food. It's like in the same restaurant. It's great.
Yeah, and it's not even Michelin star. It's still
You know
serving.
what's happening to Indian food market right now? We have learned very well from the West that what we aren't supposed to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
In what sense?
In a sense that multi-cuisine way, that we don't want a customer who's not in a mood to have Chinese to walk away out of our
Right.
restaurant.
Okay.
And what we do best is we make mediocrity at its best. So we're gonna make 5 cuisine, all's gonna be mediocre, nothing's gonna be great,
Mhm.
but it's gonna be available under the same roof for for every family member, and that gives a lot of obviously customer, and that brings a lot of credibility very soon to a
And
good
the
restaurant.
other thing is the portion size. So over here, whenever you order, it's not for only one person. It's like maybe 2 will share, 3 will share. But over there, every meal is almost like one person meal. Over here, like you have to share. Do you get it? Like if you
Yeah,
order
yeah.
Indian food, especially.
Yeah, 100%. Like, thankfully, me and my girlfriend like the same stuff. But we will order like 2 separate dishes, maybe.
Yeah.
But we'll just share them because there's
Yeah.
too much
Yeah.
there, and then you end up taking some home.
But America ends up serving more portion and throwing it
Yeah.
in the dustbin.
Or they eat them all. Like, look at the Americans.
Yeah.
Not to be rude to any Americans that might
Yeah,
be
yeah,
watching this,
they
but
eat-
the
yeah.
portion size is massive, but it's
Massive.
consumed by one individual,
Yeah.
which is crazy. But I find it interesting what you're saying there about sort of a base level like mediocrity with food, but you almost have that assurance. It's like McDonald's, right? You have this franchise
Yeah.
which is operating,
True. You got it.
and you know pretty much whichever McDonald's you go to across the world, there is a base level of mediocrity,
Yeah.
so you can trust it.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's a
yeah.
similar
You
thing.
got it.
Sounds
You
like
True,
we're
totally
doing.
got it.
That's a very
Yeah.
good way to put it.
Because you know you're not going to be disappointed, but you also know that you're not going for a
But
Michelin
but
star.
I've realized this is like a Delhi thing, not an Indian thing.
True. That's
Okay.
a
This
true.
this is in Delhi. The food you eat anywhere, street food, it will be like fine. It will be decent. But like other parts of India, it's not like this.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're
Delhi-
going Goa
Delhi-
tomorrow.
Delhi-
I am.
Delhi is
Those street
famous
food.
for its food.
Okay. I can see why. I can see
Yeah.
why. Like, that's another reason I love being here. I love eating. And the food here is... I know it's a joke that English food is bland and boring, but
It's not a joke. It is.
even cuisines that we have that aren't English, right? The way that it's done here compared to there, the flavour is uncomparable. Don't get me wrong, I love a beige Chinese where everything's deep fried and you finish eating it and you can feel your clogged arteries struggling to push it back.
But not every day.
Not every day, but it's still so bland. But here, the flavour and everything.
But it's more about the cooking. So I've told this earlier. So I was living this with one like Michelin star chef in London.
Really?
He was Spanish. So he didn't use a lot of spices. But then I said to him, so he used to say, I love Indian food and everything. But I used to tell him, like, Indian food is good, yes. But it is more impressive how you cook because you use so less spices and your food still tastes so good.
Yeah.
So that's the actual skill, because with spice and you can make it like taste good.
Yeah.
It's the same, it's just different. So in like a lot of Western cooking or European cooking, butter, salt, sugar. It's just how much of it you use. It's not spices. But
Only spice you use is pepper.
Yeah, but I promise you, the amount of salt and butter in these dishes that you think it's not spiced, but it is just masked with fat. Like whether that's a chili oil or you're using a clarified butter or something similar. It's basically just fat, acidity, and then salt. And everything will be based off that. All French cooking, you look at that and it's just heavy on butter. You'll have herbs, but it's heavy butter, heavy salt.
Yeah.
So it's different, but it's still just a cheat code.
Do you like English breakfast?
Yeah, I miss it.
Do you miss the beans in there?
So you can get beans. I've got a fair amount of beans. I think Blinkit do Heinz beans, which is nice.
Yeah. So in India we eat kidney beans more. We don't eat those beans what you eat.
Yeah. It is different. It's weird. The concept of having beans for breakfast, I know, across the world is just a weird concept, but it is nice. The one thing I don't get on, I like them, but I can't get on board with is chicken sausages. At home, we don't have sausages made of chicken. Everything's pork.
Oh yeah.
So it's
I
really
just realized
weird.
that.
Yeah.
It was
Really
always
weird.
pork sausage.
Yeah. Like chicken.
Pork over here is not famous. Like
No.
India, I don't know.
And we would advise you to not like experiment or try with pork here.
Yeah, because what is it that pork has it here? Someone said that.
No, we just don't trust the quality.
But at H-Man you can.
So whatever, I think it's common sense again. Whatever meat is not common in that country, like don't eat it.
Yeah.
So I tried beef buff over here. Like I don't really enjoy it because I know it's not selling that much. So he can like sell me, which is like a day old or something. I don't know. So like stick with chicken if you are in India, or mutton.
Mutton, yeah.
Lamb.
Mutton's something that we don't really eat. And I did some research because we obviously have lamb, which is just a younger sheep. And apparently there's more flavour in mutton because of the intramuscular fats.
Yeah.
So why we choose to kill them early and eat them
It's
young,
a regional thing, I guess. You won't be producing more goats. Obviously,
Yeah.
if there's a demand, you can do.
Yeah,
If there's
I've
a
never
demand,
seen
you-
goat on a menu unless it's like a Caribbean restaurant.
Yeah.
Curried goat is something that's popular, but
So
you wouldn't
every
see that
cuisine is
elsewhere.
a regional thing.
I curb my red meat cravings by eating mutton here. I want to eat beef so badly.
Yeah, oh, mate, it is, and I understand why it's not eaten here, but growing up around eating steaks, like especially if you're trying to be healthy, like if I'm in gym mode, which is very rare, obviously, if I'm in gym mode, it's like steak, veg, maybe rice, and that's pretty much my diet.
Plus steak is, you don't even need spice. It has own flavor so good, you don't need spice.
But it's also versatile that you could do different spices on it. So
Yeah,
you can
exactly.
do a Chinese style seasoning or a Mexican style
That's a beauty
seasoning.
with the meat. Like there are probably chicken doesn't have its own flavor. It's always spices that spice it up.
Yeah.
So that's the beauty of a meat. It's like a potato,
Yeah.
You spice it with a salt, you can get a salt bit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. But I'm going home soon. I'm going home at the end of June. So, yeah, I'm gonna eat.
You're gonna
come back so fat.
You're
Like,
gonna
I
get
really
good
am.
beef in Goa.
Okay.
Yeah, they eat beef.
I'll be on an eye.
I'm missing fish and chips now.
Yeah, I tried it here. Have you been to the B Young Brewery?
No.
No.
It's a spot in South Delhi, and they did fish and chips.
Was it good?
No.
I know.
It reminded me of home, but
The thing is, the chips here are not. They just give French
it's
fries.
just French fries.
It's not chips.
And we're not close to the sea, right? So
Yeah.
that's the one
That's
thing
the
about
one thing.
seafood.
That's the most important thing. Not about not consuming fish in Delhi, because
But-
it's a produced fish in small farms. It's not the
It's
you know,
Sani,
or it's frozen.
Sani ka fish tikka khilai.
yeah, that it's pretty good, but it's again not about the quality of fish. It's again about the spices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Just mask it. Mask
Yeah.
the blandness of the frozen fish.
over when we are talking about the mediocrity of every food, there's a very good which is above average. I'll say it's very good, and it's serving multi cuisine in Delhi is Delhi Clubhouse.
Okay.
So they have multi cuisine, like 4 to 5 cuisine, Thai, Chinese, Indian, and I haven't had a bad dish over there.
Okay.
I have ordered
Delhi
pretty much
Clubhouse.
everything.
It's a fancy place. They have.
Is it a chain or is it a standalone restaurant?
No, it's a dine-in, fine dine-in.
Okay.
And in the music after 8 is pretty good.
Okay. Sweet.
the
I'll
bar is
definitely
good.
Check it out.
Bar is
So
good.
we have a filter. Any place which has a chain, it's like a cross. No,
Yeah.
you get it. They're doing it on scale, then they can't maintain the quality. It's very hard.
Mm.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting because we have I think a different concept back home for like that McDonald's idea. Like you can go to different scales of chain.
Yeah.
You'll have ones that feel like standalone restaurants, but again, it's that guarantee security of good quality because
Yeah.
it is mass produced and there are 20 locations in the country, and the fact they're all sustaining business means that you can trust it. It's weird that like the psychology behind it. I'll check that out. Delhi Clubhouse,
Yeah,
100%.
it's very good.
You need to like give him actually like list written down in South Delhi.
I'll go with you. You tell me when are you
Yeah.
coming back?
7th.
7th.
Yeah, I'm only gone for
Yeah.
4 days.
We'll be in touch. We'll head
100%.
out.
Yeah, man.
we have
let's
to
do it.
make him try like good food.
Yeah.
Like I'm actually feeling like he's missing out.
Yeah,
I'll take you
probably
to the
am.
street food joint for a lunch.
Okay.
We'll meet around 2, and we're gonna be there for 2 in the night. And
Sick.
we're gonna.
This is our thing to go to H-Man together as well. Because
Yeah.
we have also
But
Yeah.
with
we have
him-
talked to like go
But
there
with
at
H-
least 10 times. We have planned it. We have not
Really?
gone there.
But with H-Man, the problem is you might end up having only one meal. So I'm not going to do with you.
Okay.
Was it like a big portion?
Big
size?
portion. Yeah, you're gonna have a
No,
steak to yourself.
You're coming with me. It's fine.
It's dinner tonight. Do they deliver?
No,
Okay.
I don't think so. I haven't tried because it's far from my house.
But most
I'll
of
try.
the good places in Delhi in food are
And-
in South Delhi. So
Yeah,
your
And
choice.
do feel
I
lucky.
wouldn't you advise you to get it delivered.
Okay, go and see.
There's a charm to eat it fresh.
Yeah.
Imagine steak getting delivered to your house.
True.
Yeah,
True. It is.
and then
You don't
end
have
up
the crispiness. It's a
and
bit
then
soggy,
end up
isn't it?
complaining about that shop.
Yeah. And it will all be your fault, of
how,
course.
how do you like your steak?
A medium rare.
Oh,
Medium rare?
Yeah, of course, of course. I even have it on the more rare side if you know it's fresh.
Okay.
And then yeah, it sounds horrible saying, especially here, but when the sauce mixes with the juices that come out of it, which is in
It's
essence
not.
just blood.
It's not.
And
horrible here. We all three love.
and you
Okay.
know why
Meat.
why beef isn't here? You know for a
the,
fact,
the,
right?
the religious regions.
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Cow is considered as a mother.
Not mother. And everyone says this, but it's not mother. It's more like a deity of God.
Deity of a god, and there's a belief that after mother's milk, the only thing you can consume is cow's milk.
Okay.
So there's a belief
It's like
that
in the pecking order. You've got
I
your
don't
mother
know
and then the
fuck
cow.
I mean, half of the population is lactose intolerant. I don't know where the fuck these facts are, and they're mixing up it like this stuff.
it's not a fact, it's a belief.
yeah.
Got you.
Yeah. So you can't say it's a fact.
Do people, if you're openly speaking online about eating meat,
No,
will there be people commenting?
So it was going through my head all this time, and we were talking about beef. I was thinking exactly this.
Yeah.
Like, should I beep it out? How much part should we put in?
Yeah.
Because I am scared. Like people will like come in comments and be like, they will all. We are not even have a big following, but they will already cancel us if we talk more about beef. And I don't know. But like with our
But
goal,
again, it exists.
Yeah, it
It's
does.
there though. You can get it in South Delhi. So why would be they, canceling us only?
but again,
True.
what we are trying to do with straight talks is like we can openly talk about anything.
Mm.
We are scared for some bits, but like that's our goal to like.
I'm not surprised. The first story I heard when I spoke about beef was somebody said that people get lynched for eating beef, and that might be bollocks, but I was like, I'm never going near some beef here. I don't want to be lynched, but no.
It's a pretty liberal society, I would say, but it's a narrative again, which is given to us by the political parties. It's important for us to generate the Hinduism, which was supposedly dying, to generate that again in order to
Right.
suppress Islamists, especially in Delhi. And I can't say that whether I should say this or not, but in my family also there are people who exist and agree with this.
Yeah.
So I can't be the brand ambassador of saying that this is not right or wrong. But I would say India is a liberal society overall, and we don't judge for the fact that you're gonna eat beef, but we can school you for not eating it.
Makes sense.
Lynching is something which is a harsh term. You won't be lynched, but you're gonna be schooled very much.
Yeah,
Lynching is where the media coverage goes.
got you. So it's blowing up the one incident that's happened in 10 years, which is probably related to something
Yeah.
else.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
got you.
And especially when a white guy is eating beef, no one fucking cares. In India. If I am eating them, they might like
Yeah.
fuck me up. And if I'm like trying to, even if I am eating, no one will say anything. But if I'm like speaking out loud and this and like, then some hate will come on, I think.
Is that all religion, do you think? Is it all a religious
Not
sentiment?
No. I think people have been fed religiously about this stuff, but now they don't know, they don't have a fucking clue. Because whenever someone talks to me about religion and tries to like give me lesson about, oh, this is wrong, eating non-vegetarian, everything. So how Christianity have Bible, right? We have Bhagavad Gita, right? So I straight up asked them, have you even read a single page of that book? You were like trying to school me that don't do this, do you get it?
Yeah,
So it
100%.
doesn't come from religion. It doesn't come from religion. It comes from the fucking stereotype and the misinformation and the beliefs the older generation have put in the younger generation. It's more of that. It's not coming from religious. I'm telling you that.
Okay. So it's just ingrained.
Yeah.
Okay. It reminds me actually. I know we've gone away from social media, but you talking about that there of like the people who have never read the book preaching the book. It reminds me of the guys who are subscribed to OnlyFans that are putting the hate on the OnlyFans models. I wanted to get your guys' opinion of that in India, because across the Western world, OnlyFans is something that has blown up hugely over the past few years, and now is something that can be seen as a career prospect for women and girls. But I wanted to know from you guys, what's the perspective of OnlyFans and that sort of profession, because that's what it is now. It is a profession.
Nice. I like it. You brought this up.
Over here, the girls are doing it, but it's pretty, behind the scenes. They are not gonna openly accept it. There's a star, Poonam Pandey, which says she's openly does it.
Is she like a porn star, or is she?
No,
like
no,
just
she
on
wasn't a
OnlyFans?
porn star.
She's
was
a OnlyFans model.
Okay.
yeah.
Now.
And she was a legit actress before that.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
Bollywood actress. So
Shows you where the money is, doesn't it?
like
Or
the
is she
opportunities.
using that audience to then?
I mean, the opportunities take you there. Wherever the opportunity strike, you gotta strike it, right? She's not gonna stay young for 40.
True.
She has those
true.
good 5 years.
Yeah,
so she's gonna bank on it.
But to answer your question, I think right now, as he said, it is like things are going on, but they are more behind the scene. But this younger generation, the Gen Z, which are coming up, I think they won't care. They won't care already, because I'm already seeing and talking to so many girls nowadays, and their family is already cool with so much stuff that I can't think of. Do you get it? There's already so much going on. So like, I have a friend and her mother knows she smokes weed.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get it? Like, this is not normal in India. I can't think of, but now I have started hearing these more things. So I think with time, like how OnlyFans has grown in Western countries, it will be the same in India. It will take time, but it will definitely grow. There is fucking money.
Yeah.
And what's your take on being an OnlyFans model? If someone is an OnlyFans model, how do you see that?
It's difficult. I think sex is the oldest profession in the world. It's always been there. The sex trade, prostitution. This is just a modern version of that trade. I think it's empowering for the women that are doing it.
Yeah.
But I think there are also potential situations where women might not be thinking about the ramifications.
How is it empowering for the woman?
Because she owns her own business and she controls it, and there's not anybody telling her what she's doing.
But she does the same thing with some other business.
Yeah, of course, of course.
I'm not saying I'm against it, like, but what I'm just trying to saying is like, how is it like woman empowerment?
Because she's taking it into her own hands. A lot of the porn industry has historically been run by men.
You're saying from that context.
From that context, it's men directors paying women who are potentially being exploited. Look at the sex trade, where historically, or in instances, there has been maybe a pimp, and maybe drug use is linked to almost trapping somebody into that, or it could be a whole host of different things. A woman being in OnlyFans is her saying, this is my business, I control it. If I wanted to do this anyway, rather than somebody else getting paid and me being the one who's putting my body on the internet, now I'm taking control of that business.
So obviously you know about Bonnie Blue.
I knew that was going to come up.
So I literally watched a reel yesterday. Bonnie Blue was debating with another OnlyFans model, and she's from US. Her name is Camelia or something. So they both were doing a podcast.
So Bonnie Blue is big.
OnlyFans. So Bonnie Blue is a OnlyFans model in the UK, and she fucked 1,000 dudes in 24 hours.
Yeah,
that's why she's famous.
Okay,
she's her and a girl called Lily Phillips were like basically battling with each other to shag as many blokes as they can
in less time.
Yeah,
in less time. So Bonnie Blue and the other OnlyFans model from America, they were having this podcast, like a brain rot content, but I want to share it. So they were debating on this part. So she was saying, you have taken 1,000 dicks to get where you are. So she asked, how much do you earn? So Bonnie Blues asked, and she said almost same as you, 2 million on a good month. And she's like, but I don't have to take 1,000 dicks like you did. And then Bonnie Blue said, but I am not ashamed of dancing on weird TikTok dances like this. And then people were commenting, are they fucking comparing dancing on TikTok and taking 1,000 dicks?
Yeah, it's crazy.
I'm like, what the fuck is this content?
It's crazy. Now, the worry would be if say, Bonnie Blue or Lily Phillips, who's the other UK one who's popular at the moment, if she's young, if she ever wants kids, like... there were going to be horny guys that would want to be with her because she's attractive. But seriously, like bringing a child into this world who has access to all of this content, like that kid's life
boggles my
mind.
mind.
Imagine she's gonna bring a kid, but imagine someone who's an OnlyFans model and is already a mother, and you gonna ask that your mother is a OnlyFans model. How do you perceive that? How do you see that? So he can be as clear as ki earlier she used to be a prostitute. Now she doesn't have to do that. I mean, it was worse than what we are right now.
That's what the debate was going on, these models. So she was saying, I'm not like fucking anyone.
Yeah.
Like fucking is a different thing. Being porn star is a different thing. That's a choice. But being prostitute is somewhere a choice, but somewhere you have been, pushed and forced by society's pressure, not pressure, the desperation of hunger, of poverty. So prostitution comes from that.
That's interesting. Is that the case in India?
I would advise every prostitution in India to be a OnlyFans model.
Yeah.
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 It's a better place to be rather than being on those streets, getting those disease and handling those weirdos every night.
Yeah.
And being a mother.
Because you said it's about hunger, it's about
Poverty.
Because in India, what else reason can we think of other than poverty? Like, why is she doing this work? What do you think can be other reason?
Like the atmosphere over here is not like in Amsterdam.
True.
It's the worst. It's the worst you're gonna see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of issues with rape in India as well, aren't
It's
there?
not a respected profession.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's a reason behind it that it shouldn't be.
So I wanna ask you, like, okay, so maybe in Western country poverty is not the reason. Then what's the motivation to do something like this?
I mean, I haven't done it and I haven't spoken to anybody who has. So for me to be able to understand, I mean, I can't put into the psyche, but there are more high-class prostitutes that are making really good money.
Yeah.
So in that instance, it's not necessarily a poverty thing. I think there's also a crossover potentially between prostitutes and porn stars.
Yeah.
I think people that are porn stars then get these guys that are like, oh my God, I would pay you fucking 10,000 USD to have sex with you. If they're making 2,000-3,000 USD for a video, they're probably going to say yes. So the industry itself is something I don't know a lot about. I've watched a few documentaries to try and educate myself on it. It's a difficult conversation because I think unless I haven't spoken to somebody who's a prostitute, I haven't done my own research in documentary form to understand the life and thoughts, but I worry that there are people in that industry that are being exploited. But I also think that if somebody's choosing to do that, that's their decision, and then it has to almost be like there are probably other options, but they're probably earning more money. What do guys do to make money?
I'm so intrigued to talk to an OnlyFans model on podcast now.
Yeah.
I have to find one.
Yeah, 100%. Because I think the perspective, it's really easy for us as three guys.
Yeah.
Probably, I'm not saying you guys have, but we probably consume pornographic content at one point or another.
Yeah.
And I know this is straight talking, of course we have. It's difficult for us to talk about it in a way that isn't just from our perspective.
Yeah.
And I think it's very easy for a guy to be like, oh, I wouldn't be with a girl who's done this, and then almost vilify it. I think there aren't enough discussions in social media around the woman's perspective. You get the podcasts where it's the guys sort of disrespecting the women and talking about the negative sides of it. Who's having those conversations about the positive aspects? So I think if you could do that, that would be extremely insightful, because I'm sure there are so many freedoms that women get from that. They might be having sex with their partner on OnlyFans, and the only difference compared to their normal life is that they're
showing
videoing.
publicly.
Yeah.
So
True.
It's a very smart model though.
Oh, completely. Like you've got these streamers as well that like make millions of dollars a month, and all they're doing.
What's that?
is
Streamers?
Streaming.
Streaming. Sorry.
Streamers who like
I'm sorry.
they're probably not like model attractive, but they might be attractive enough that they're like wearing a low cut top gaming, and these guys are making millions of dollars a month, and it's just smart. You're utilizing assets that you have physically, but also picking into a market. Comes back to journalism, like we're targeting a market.
What's your audience like? What's the age group, and what's men, women?
We're English speaking, right? So we are looking at English speaking Indians, which I think is probably more of an educated market. So the groups of people that I can't communicate with the most are delivery drivers, cab drivers, sort of shop workers. Is just me noticing this might be wrong, but I think the people that are speaking the better English are the educated people who have gone through school. That might be a completely mismanaged idea.
Have you looked at the numbers of gender?
I don't see that side of it. I know on YouTube we're predominantly male, I believe.
Okay.
But not by a massive bit. Not huge at all. It'll probably be like 60-40. But we're a new channel as well, so it's something that we're still coming to terms with. So we've only been on TV for a few weeks, so we soft launched first.
You're already on TV?
Yeah.
I was listening to Palki Sharma, that news reporter I was telling you, and she said our 80% of viewership is, I guess, males, if I'm
Yeah,
correct.
yeah.
20% is women. And when our viewership falls is when I make women empowerment content.
Really?
And the guy, the podcaster, Ranveer Alwadi is like, what? Like, I want to know. She's saying, I want to know what are women watching. I really want to know. If anyone can tell me, what are they interested in?
They're watching those Netflix scary documentaries and like like those stuff. That's what they watch.
It's interesting. It's interesting the demographic. I think there's probably a gap there for a woman-run news or media outlet. But it's again chasing the money, isn't it? Sex sells. Rap artists are putting naked women or barely dressed women in their music videos because that's what sells. You look at chick flicks where you've got a guy who's ripped, 6'4", massive muscles, handsome face. That's going to sell for the chick flick movies. So it's all just catering to the audience.
The fucking America has Hooters.
I think it's just gone into administration.
Is it?
I'm pretty sure, yeah. But again, like that concept, in sort of cancel culture society, that is just not okay now.
And then complaining about objectifying women.
The whole fucking thing is running on showing ass.
Yeah.
I don't even heard about food from there. That's all I know. I've never been there. That's all I know.
Has someone been there for food?
Fair. So fair. What is the time, guys? I'm conscious that I've got to go home and pack at some point.
Yeah, of course. We can. It's just that we just go with the flow and
Yeah,
we
I
don't
love
see
it.
that time.
I love it. Do you want to crack on? Did you say you had some more of the...
It's fine. Let
Yeah.
it be up now. I don't want to like force it back.
Okay, no,
It's
it
fine.
wouldn't be forcing it. It wouldn't be forcing it.
But
It's
it
up to
had
you.
like very interesting.
Just for the conversation's sake, let's say.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Mainstream media is losing its power.
Yes. Yeah, fact. Without a doubt. Mainstream media, the conversation that we've had for a lot of this discussion, social media is overtaking mainstream media. Netflix is overtaking terrestrial TV.
That's what
So-
we are trying to do.
Yeah, precisely. And the big one will be when Netflix do news. When Netflix launch a news channel, and they will be able to have the money behind it that will be able to regionalize it, and then you'll have this ecosystem of individual countries that are operating on Netflix that will have then regional hubs. But then imagine you put that workforce together for a worldwide one, and then all you need is a decision maker who's saying we're picking that, and that, and you'll have a room with a native speaking presenter, news anchor, reporter, and they'll have an English speaking one, or you'll have a Spanish speaking one.
Every language, basically.
Every language will be covered. You'll have this network.
I hope you cover English one.
And I think,
It'd be
and
great.
like, I think Netflix is the only one who can pull it.
Without a doubt.
No other company I know can like do something like this.
Or whichever the biggest streaming site is at that point. If Amazon get their stuff sorted and provide a better service so it can counter Netflix, I think we can all agree Amazon for the programs they have is a good platform. But if you're looking at the streaming giants in an order, you'd probably put Netflix top worldwide.
No stock recommendations because I'm invested in Netflix. I'm more bullish on it now. Yeah. Most people don't want the truth, they want validation.
Ooh. Let's say fact. I think that's changed. I think that's changed with the advent of modern society as it is. We want to be heard, right? We want to hear our echo chamber. I think it's why the algorithms work. It's because you get fed the stuff you believe, and they know what you believe because it's the stuff that you start watching with.
Yeah.
It's like a rabbit hole. You can end up... One I noticed was with Andrew Tate when he was massive on social media. This is when like I was on Twitter a little bit and had TikTok when I was making videos on there ages ago. As soon as I watched 2 Andrew Tate videos past 5 seconds, then every other video that I got was that.
Yeah.
And if you're somebody who's that way inclined or is impressionable, that then becomes your opinion, and then you're validated already. It doesn't even need to be your opinion to be validated, because you could be watching someone else, and then that's changing your perception. It's so powerful.
True. And the algo on TikTok is really dangerous because, as you said, you watch 2 videos more than 5 seconds and showing you all Andrew Tate. Insta algo doesn't work like that. It's like a bit more moderate. Like TikTok, it like pushes it.
Yeah.
Like whatever you
In
just
seconds.
so if you start and then if you start watching like a rabbit video, it will start pushing out a lot of rabbit. Like it is very aggressive. The
Like,
TikTok.
I have
algo.
heard the TikTok advertisement is like you're talking about iPad and you open the TikTok and
time.
you're gonna get iPad ad right away in few seconds.
Yeah.
Without a
And
doubt.
I'm like, what the fuck? Imagine.
But I still miss my 20k followers on TikTok in the UK.
Yeah.
It got banned.
Sick, man. Sick.
You miss your validation.
Yeah. So every time we used to talk, like there was some part of me, I would put some like UK context and I would say something on the podcast and he would be like, you always bring UK. And today I'm like, I will talk everything.
Yeah, bring it. Absolutely.
Media is the biggest propaganda machine today.
Truth. 100% fact. Yeah. Because it's creating the narrative.
Mm.
And it feeds the narratives. It
And
feeds the
always
propaganda.
been. It has always been, right?
Yeah.
And it happens so unconsciously. That's the dangerous thing.
Yeah.
You don't even realize.
Yeah.
Even we have it, and it's through the guests that we have on. We might have a guest who you ask him a question, it doesn't matter what you're going to say. He knows what he's going to say and it's going to be pushing an agenda. In essence, at that point, we are promoting a propaganda and that is feeding into them.
And
It's unintentional.
this has been the most recent example of this has been the Delhi elections. I'm not taking sides again over here, but from being most celebrated chief minister of Delhi to being the most hated chief minister of Delhi within 5 months of media narrative.
Yeah, literally just because of media.
Just because of media. He might have done something wrong. I'm pretty sure of it.
I
have.
will give you another good example. So in India there is the leading party which is BJP and the other party is Congress.
Yeah.
So the Congress is like the face of Congress is Rahul Gandhi, right? And the opposition, the BJP has like such a good narrative to make him like a fool. Like so we have a term pappu. Pappu is like a cute way to say you are a fool.
Okay.
Like even a fucking 4-year-old calls him Pappu, the guy who's the
Dumbo.
face
Like
of
a Dumbo.
Really? So it's infiltrated into society that much?
in that much. Like even a 5-year-old knows his name is Pappu.
And you know what they have done?
Crazy.
They have done pretty good job of spreading it on a WhatsApp because they know the people who vote
Their
and
audience.
the older generation is mostly on WhatsApp.
Okay.
So they derived that narrative not from the media of television or internet.
How
Oh,
do they
I'm
do
sure-
that through WhatsApp? I don't even know how that would work.
That's just go and spread it on your residential welfare association
Plus there are a
group,
lot of groups.
Got you.
A lot of
and they
people
keep
groups.
on forwarding it to.
Yeah. So it's like a Facebook group where somebody's
Yeah, yeah,
posted,
yeah,
'cause
yeah.
Yeah.
We don't really use WhatsApp
Yeah,
as
yeah.
much like that at
I know.
home because
Yeah.
we have Facebook. That's the
Yeah.
bigger one.
But
All
my
of
dad
the older
does.
people.
But my dad does.
Yeah.
His dad does.
Over here, WhatsApp is more personal because you need a number. So like the groups and the community are over there are more personal, so you believe it. So we call it WhatsApp. So whenever my family shows me some stupid content, like look at this, I'm like stop reading from WhatsApp University.
Got
Like
you.
yesterday,
Okay,
there was a
okay.
news on WhatsApp that Dhoni retired, and it
Really?
went viral.
Fake news.
It's for the fake
Yeah.
news, and I was like, "Don't send me this." I'm
And
doing.
is it just being forwarded and forwarded and forwarded and forwarded?
It's written over there, forwarded many times.
Really?
When you
Okay,
forward,
okay.
it's crazy. It's crazy.
Okay, last one. Independent journalism is the future.
Yeah, fact. I think so. And I think it won't be because the news organisations will stop, but I think if on current trajectory, if we're moving towards social media content, there's nothing stopping people being independent and doing it themselves. And there will be people that are more skilled content creators than these big conglomerates. But then potentially there's a world in which that joins together. And if the Netflix thing happens, that takes over. And then Netflix control the narrative, right? How dangerous would that be?
Yeah.
It would be bloody brilliant for like a journalistic point of view because you could be connected in this network across every country in the world that consumes Netflix, which is almost all of them. But the worry would then be if Netflix hold the power on the world media, they can very quickly set the narrative.
Yeah, again, yeah.
The reason X was bought by Elon Musk,
Yeah.
that Dorsey was controlling the narrative with government. But that's gonna happen on Netflix too.
It might.
It was a time when Rupert Murdoch was,
Yeah.
always on the side of Republican. Or-
Yeah. So I don't know as much about the US politics, but of course he has Fox,
Yeah.
which is now very Republican. The power that guy had at one point,
Oh,
controlling UK US media.
he used to run the
Insane.
election.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So succession thing.
It basically is.
Have you
Basically.
watched?
I haven't.
Oh, you have
It's
to
a beauty.
watch it. You
It's a
have to
beauty.
watch it.
You know what I'm bad at? I'm bad at watching like a couple of episodes of a series
Yeah.
and not being hooked, and because I'm busy,
Uh,
I need something to grab me first episode off, where I'm like, I don't have time to, and especially if it's been 3-4 series or whatever.
Did Game of Thrones?
So I watched Game of Thrones late.
Okay.
I watched it maybe 5 series in. I started watching it just because all my mates were and I wanted to catch up with them. So I just
Did
sort
you
of
like
binge
it?
watched it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I did. But I find it difficult to because you've got to commit to all the series that are there.
Yeah.
Same with like Breaking Bad. I didn't get all the way through that. I've watched
Yeah.
up to like series
It's
3.
pretty slow to
Yeah.
because they were made when there were not a lot of dopamine hits all the time. So
It's
they
so
were
true.
and now again that is the edge. Like how I mentioned with the steroids, that thing.
yeah.
It's again this is the edge.
Yeah.
I guess these all things are going to lead to opportunities, whether you cash it on or not.
Yeah.
Imagine you only planning to be in a media house rather than being a independent anchor or a journalist. I'm not saying you're gonna get killed, but there are someone near you who's gonna grab that opportunity and make it bigger than that media
Of
house.
course.
Yeah. So there will be villains and there will be heroes, but there's no way that villains are not gonna be celebrated. They're gonna be celebrated too.
Of course. It's the art of the sort of profession.
Yeah.
It is public, and it was my biggest fear coming over here. And I think so. We had a couple of delays with launch and studios and stuff. And my big fear before moving over to India was like, I'm not ready to be in the public domain, because of that. The idea to me that you can't go out like down to the shop, and that's extreme celebrity. And I'm not saying that's ever going to be the case, but you obviously your brain goes to worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Right? If you're actively putting yourself on a national to a national audience, that's the first thing that came to my head. But it's just dealing with that and sort of letting it not get to your head. And I speak to my colleague actually a lot about this. One of the first things we said, because we weirdly went to the same university and we've both ended up out here in India working for the same news organisation, like off the start. So he was like, we need to stay grounded here because the opportunities that we will get will be insane just because of the work we're in, the fact that we now understand like the white privilege that's here, the fact the economy is growing and opportunities are growing. But I think that's a lesson that can be learnt in everything. Just keep grounded with what you're doing. Like with you guys putting in this work, if you get a viral video, I bet you're like, this is sick, but it doesn't mean the work has to stop, right? You need to keep grinding, because otherwise, like you said, with the difference between a media house or a personal, individual creator, if one of them lets their eye off the ball, the other one will continue because they'll be putting the grind in. And I think that message can just be a lesson through life.
Nice. And just a personal suggestion, advice, whatever you wanna say for you. So just keep your eyes and ears open. You can have really good business opportunities here. So like, just don't think about your job. Maybe you can make some business out of it, because like this is one of the reasons why I love living in India. You can over here start your own business about anything, and it can start from small. It's not the same in other countries.
No.
So I'm just saying, like, you have the opportunity here to start something of your own. You just need right contacts. Do you get it? Like, let's say you know us, and let's say we are starting something, and we are like, do you want to be a partner with us? Do you get it?
Yeah, 100%.
We need a white guy.
So this happens more in India not in those countries.
Of course. Yeah, that's something I've definitely been aware of. Like the amount of people, especially if you're going to like the summer house and the housecaste village, like the people that are out there drinking are all the same people. And when you get to meet these guys, it is very much like a circular group of people that are all connected and all are doing their own thing. But that's so great, like being around people that are hungry and pushing stuff. Like you don't get that back home.
Yeah.
You've got people that are happy doing the Monday, Friday, 9 to 5. Then they'll go out on the weekend, they'll be hungover Sunday because they've done 2 days of drinking, back to the monotonous work. But that is the really inspiring thing. Like I want to stay here for longer than just like this 1 year term for the contract. Hopefully, if my bosses are watching, that contract would stay on the table. But yeah, being around hungry people, it's like you become a product of your environment. It's something I've always believed in. If you're not motivated and you're surrounding yourself by people that are also not motivated, nothing's going to change.
Yeah.
If you're surrounding yourself by people that are hungry and want to achieve because they want to do it for themselves, not because they're being told they have to, that will inspire you as well. So
they won't let your hunger die.
Exactly.
They're going to stay hungry with you.
And if you see someone else succeeding because they're putting effort in, and say you are somebody who's just giving it a load of chat but they're not doing it, if your mates are your mates, they're going to call you out and say, there's no point you talking about this
and
stuff.
Opportunity where India is such a great space right now. I was listening to this podcast of Nikhil Kamath. Over there were two coffee guys, Blue Tokai owner and Sabko Coffee. Yeah. Sabko Coffee is more famous in Mumbai.
Okay.
It's not yet in Delhi as far as I know. So he was telling I was in US. Both of them were in US and came back to India. While listening to him, I don't know if I can comment on it, but Sabko somewhat, he said it was an Indian thing, it's a family thing, I have my roots over in India. Mm-hmm. But to me, something interesting over there is, in India, you can start a semi-luxury product and sell it as a luxury.
Okay.
Because we haven't experienced luxury yet. The masses haven't experienced luxury yet. They weren't able to afford luxury yet, but they are moving towards it. They are moving towards iPhone. They are moving towards the expensive gadgets, the content too. So what he did beautifully over here is he made the product very hygienically, very nicely packaged. And it's not there yet like the luxury niche market, and it's not below average. So it's a good product which has a semi-luxury brand name attached to it.
But it's still standing out because
it's standing out than other things. Same with, there's a bougie cafe in Mumbai. It's doing so well that it's going to fail Starbucks in numbers if we're going to look on the ROI side of it.
Yeah.
And they are asking, well, how is it doing so great? So they are selling the luxury to the masses. And you can do that only in Indian market as per se. Yeah. In America, you can't do that.
Because it's not been through that boom yet.
Yeah.
Completely.
Well, I'm totally in for Indian growth in a luxury market right now. That's where I think right now.
Well, half of luxury is just marketing, right?
Yeah.
Like
right branding.
Right branding, and also the point at which you're pricing something gives it immediately its position, whether it's a premium product or not.
Yeah.
Alcohol is made very cheaply. The bottle that you put it in is the reason that it's costs what it is. Grey Goose versus a cheaper version of vodka.
Smirnoff.
The difference there is the packaging and the bottle.
Yeah.
I was watching a thing about it, and the guy who made it actually he took Jägermeister to the US. He's the guy who made Jäger bombs. Wasn't a thing that existed. Yeah, so he basically then was like, I'm going to make my own vodka. He looked at all the vodka bottles, brands, the most expensive, the most like cost effective. And he was like, go to France and find me vodka from France because everything's Russian and we want it to stand out. It's cheap, it didn't cost much. The thing that cost the most was the tall bottle. The vodka that was actually going in it didn't cost anything. But he was like, we're going to brand it 50% more expensive than everything else. And then the perception now is that Grey Goose is a premium product. But compared to the Russian stuff that at that point was half the price, less than, no difference at all.
No difference.
That's just the power of marketing. Yeah. So I think it's great if you can have an opportunity that harnesses the masses but then gives that feeling of luxury. Pricing it in that midpoint, it's on a growing economy, it sounds like a
and I think
win-win.
When you were saying like talking about hungry people, and I think if you meet someone from a different geography and those two people are hungry, I think they can do amazing things. That's why I always get excited to work with people outside India. Do you get it? Because it's like you know a lot of stuff that I have no idea about, and I know a lot of stuff that you have no idea. So together, if you like try to do some sort of business, I think it can be great if you figure it
Clashes of
out.
cultures as well, like
Yeah.
different perspectives on things.
Yeah.
It's, you're just covering more of like
Yeah.
opportunities.
I just
Right.
realized I did my masters in the UK in international business. So I did learn a lot of this. I don't even remember what I did my masters in.